folks. We're skipping the Epstein stuff today. We're going to get to it on a new day.
So normally when I do an unconventional interview with like Putin or the president of Iran, people get mad and they ask, why are you talking to him? This is one of those very rare, maybe unique circumstances where people are going to ask you,
yes.
Why are you talking to him?
Yeah.
And people are going to get mad.
People are going to get very angry. I know. And your producers had been reaching out, trying to get me to talk.
What I really don't get is like the wildly stupid version of the red-brown alliance we have going on here right now. Like, it's like the worst and so dumb. You can see the backstabs coming a mile away. Here they are, still going through the motions anyway. Yep, this is Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks, a left-wing outlet, or it used to be. Built its entire reputation as a progressive bastion of morals and news. And then we have Tucker Carlson, a fascist. Like an ideological fascist, not a fascist of convenience. And, well, I guess we're going to find some real common ground between the progressive Young Turks and Tucker Carlson.
To you for
they'll be able to agree on so much. Trans terminology is bad, or hey, homeless people should just be shuffled off into the desert to die. They have so much in common.
At least a year and a half, and my feelings toward coming on your show went from I would never in a million years to kind of giving myself the opportunity to listen to your podcast to figure out who you really are. Because of course I had
keep in mind, he does a show where he talked about literally fighting a demon. Not like in the sense like, oh, he was battling demons on the inside. No, Tucker Carlson has done an entire show where he talks about getting ambushed by a demon for real life. I can't emphasize this enough. Not a metaphorical demon. Like, it left physical marks on him, is his claim. So, yeah, I don't know. Take that for what it's worth, I guess. Yeah, he also supports sunning your nuts.
Very strong thoughts about who you are.
Really?
Yeah, but I realized that it was based on clips that I would watch of you that had gone viral. And they had gone viral because they were offensive, or you had said something that was...
Viral like syphilis is viral.
I mean, pretty much. Okay. I mean, you should think of it that way, because it was mostly painting you in a very negative light.
Oh, painting a fascist in a negative light, huh? Sake Tanuki. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. You guys have met your goal. What? No, wait, no, you haven't. I lied. You're very close, though. Now, I just want to say, like, it's crazy to me that I have this on my soundboard.
I do not fillet Nazis.
And, like, I don't know, one can also interpret that phrasing as not sucking up to Nazis. And who would have imagined that was actually such a low bar that Anna wouldn't be able to clear it? It's kind of crazy, actually. But here we are. Can we also just take a moment to like admire Tucker Carlson's introduction? He's insanely wealthy. He's the heir of the Swanson frozen food fortune. Okay, chances are if you've had frozen food, you know what's going on with Tucker Carlson. I really appreciate that this man, despite the fact that he's wealthier than God, and stands to inherit more money, and is basically famous as that guy who got owned for wearing a bow tie by Jon Stewart, who then managed to climb up the ranks of Fox News only to flee in disgrace, has persevered and reimagined himself as an outdoor woodsman. Like, he lives in like a cabin set. He wears the flannels, the button-ups, etc. But like, look at him. He's so folksy. The American flag. Look at him eating a banana. He's just like you and me. I've eaten a banana. I'm just like Tucker. In case you guys forgot who this is, it's Tucker Carlson. We put a giant arrow next to his face. Well, Look at that. He's flawed like me. He wears glasses just like I do. Look at him. He has a shotgun. Just like me. Look at him laugh. He's just a jolly little scamp.
And to be sure,
now, chat, things might get so dire during this segment that I might have to pull out the Curtis Sliwa Ratman voice, because, I don't know, I had a really good time introducing you all to that character. And I feel like he'd fit in here somehow. I don't know how.
Outdoor Woodens man.
Trains and bullshit. Thank you for the $5 dono and the pun. It hurts. But in a good way.
Sure, you and I have some pretty deep disagreements, but I think that some of what you've been talking about lately like hits at the heart of what I care most about. And that's the importance of...
Oh, Jess, I would really like that. Thank you.
This country representing the American people, the importance of the United States being a sovereign country that has politicians and a government that prioritizes the American people as opposed to a foreign government. And speaking out the way you've been speaking out about some of these issues.
You know, and I do wonder, right? I do wonder if this is just, oh, we all agree on everything. Or if it is, we both agree that we don't want, you know, this particular end, but we disagree on how to get there. Because that's a really important disagreement. And a lot of people act like it's not.
For Anna to grovel to the Groypers and her transformation will be complete.
God, how long until she goes on Nick Fuentes' show? How long? Start the clock. Start the goddamn clock.
Takes a lot of courage because it goes against the grain and it goes against, I mean, decades of propaganda and conditioning in American media. And so to me, that commonality that you and I share made me a lot more open-minded to coming on this show. Because I do think that Americans from across the political spectrum need...
Like, I wonder if she realizes that he is mining her credibility to build himself up in the eyes of his own audience, right? Like, I wonder if she is aware to the degree that he is using her. I do wonder... In cases where like people on the left wind up collaborating with someone like Tucker Carlson, I do wonder, is it from a place of sincerity? Is it ignorance? Like, I feel like the intentionality matters a little bit, you know?
To find areas of agreement, especially as it pertains to making this country better, so we can apply appropriate pressure on our politicians and get them to represent us, regardless of the corruption, regardless of the influence of foreign governments. At the end of the day, these politicians are nothing if it isn't, if it weren't for the American people, right? So, like right now, what's really interesting, if it weren't for the American people,
Right.
This is like Tucker Carlson has been doing this forever, and I've seen him make this face so many times. It's just an act, and he's playing a character he's very good at. Apparently, people seem to watch it.
Right. So like right now, what's really interesting is in Congress, it appears that there's this bipartisan effort to force a vote to release the Epstein files.
Yes.
And the only reason why that's happening is because there's a very loud and aggressive portion of the MAGA base that's demanding it, and they're not letting it go. And I commend them because I agree with them. I think we need transparency. We need to know whether or not we literally have members in our government or influential people, you know, in the periphery.
Yeah, and Alexander the Ape, like you write, this is listening / Ernest Tucker. Yeah, it's exactly like Glenn Beck the other day. We were watching a Glenn Beck clip, and he basically was just like, I think I'm right where you are, Travis. And it's just like, no, you're not. Like, it's just blatantly an act. And I don't know how people don't see through it.
Free of our government who are pedophiles. I want to know.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the framework that you laid out. The government of any country ought to be sovereign, which is to say it should make most of its big decisions on the basis of what's good for the people that it represents. And it's bad when foreign countries control your country.
Mm-hmm.
Those don't strike me as hateful statements at all. Those aren't expressions of animus against anybody, are they?
I don't think they're hateful statements at all. I'm an American. I love this country. I love the people in this country. And I don't want to live in this ridiculous perversion of the American government where they pretend to represent us. But in reality, Americans are on the back burner. Our tax dollars are being taken from us, not to help Americans who need help, but to give all sorts of subsidies to private industries that are already doing really well. Okay, they don't need extra subsidies or tax cuts or things like that. But in addition to that, all the foreign aid that we're pumping into the Middle East, Israel, right? Oftentimes when we talk about foreign aid that goes to Israel, at this point, I believe it's about, $4 billion a year, on top of all of the military aid that we've been pumping into Israel over the last 2 years.
I actually don't mind the humanitarian aid. I don't mind humanitarian aid going to any country on the globe, ever. I do mind bombs going to other parts of the globe, though. Be really nice for us to stop sending bombs. Hello, progressively independent.
I mean, it's unacceptable to me that we're doing that. And in the backdrop of that, you have the United States Congress cutting $1.1 trillion to Medicaid? Really? That's the problem? That's where we need to cut funding from? By the way, also cutting funding to food assistance. How do you justify sending tens of billions of dollars to Israel in the last 2 years alone while targeting cuts to Medicaid and food stamps? It makes me beyond angry. I think it's so unbelievably unjust. And if you speak out about it the way I'm doing right now, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of aggressive. If you speak out about it like I am right now, people try to smear you as an anti-Semite. And you know what? I'm not an anti-Semite. I know what's in my heart. And I'm not going to let those...
You know what's dangerous about the particular phrasing she's using here? The idea that if you criticize the actions of a state, they label you as an anti-Semite. You need to actually lay out who they in that circumstance is. Who are you talking about? Establishment Dems? Liberal media? Because we all know conservatives aren't going to call you out on that, but you need to be specific about who is talking when you do that. Because when a conservative or someone who watches Tucker Carlson, right, sees someone say that, they're like, yeah, they are calling us all anti-Semites, aren't they, Anna? But they might actually be anti-Semitic. Again, this is what I mean when I talk about how Anna is granting Tucker more credibility.
Smears stop me from saying what I know is correct and what's morally just.
Is it possible that people are slandered in order to prevent conversations like this from happening in the first place? So you said, I was hesitant to come on the show. The reason we wanted to book you and a bunch of people who work for me had the same feeling, is what you just said. We can disagree on all kinds of things.
No, I don't know, man. Maybe it's because you're a fascist. Maybe it's because you're a fascist who's angling to run for president in 2028, man. Come on.
Things, but if the fundamental orientation is the U.S. government ought to make a good faith effort to improve the lives of Americans, that's not a partisan statement. That's not a crazy
humanitarian aid being given to anyone globally.
Humanitarian aid. I got you, Sake Tanuki.
See out there sentiment at all, and we saw that. It was like, oh yeah, and then you're like, yeah, but he's a Nazi. I can't do the Nazi show.
So, yes.
So you sort of want, I have all kinds of stupid opinions. I've said all kinds of stupid things. I've had ugly opinions in the past. I'm not.
Dude literally had a known white nationalist writing his scripts for years.
Defending every opinion I have had or even currently have. I'm merely saying to reduce someone to a caricature is a kind of tactic to prevent anyone from having a real conversation with them.
I do want to say, for as much as I hate this man, part of the reason I hate him is because he's really fucking good at this, guys. His rhetoric is on another level from your run of the mill, even your run of the mill Ben Shapiro types. Like, he's much better at this than Ben Shapiro is, and he's scary in the marketplace of ideas. Not because his ideas are better, but because he has his finger on the pulse of what, like, MAGA conservative types really desire, you know?
Person.
It's meant to discredit. And yeah, you're right. It's meant to stop these types of conversations from happening. Now, you are very conservative. I'm not very conservative. I have some views that lean more conservative than progressives feel comfortable with, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, what drives my politics is this desire for everyone to thrive economically.
Wait, Tucker Carlson tried to sign up with the CIA, but couldn't cut it. That's actually incredible. Thank you very much for sharing that fact with me. I quite enjoy it.
You look like a bitch.
Just as much as possible, I support making Tucker Carlson look like a bitch.
Economically. And, you've been speaking out about
how is that? So what is the difference? If I could, I mean, I would hope that would be like everyone's desire. It's not.
It's not, no.
Right, at all. But what does it mean to be, not to get too philosophical here, but what does it mean to be conservative or liberal, like at this point?
Well, I don't think that the political labels that we currently have in this country make much sense anymore, to be honest.
Oh boy, I bet you don't.
With you.
I've noticed, yeah.
But I'm talking about like traditional conservatism. I believe in reproductive rights to a point.
Right.
I know that you're anti-abortion.
Wait, what?
Conservatism. I believe in reproductive rights to a point.
Right.
Reproductive rights to a point? What are you talking about?
I know that you're anti-abortion.
Big time.
Yeah. So like that's a disagreement we have. Right. And I'm not at all going to like come on this show and capitulate on my beliefs.
Right.
But I think that those are important issues. I'm not.
Yeah, like what is the point? I want a little bit of elaboration there.
Minimizing them.
Right.
But I feel that we can't even really engage in a real debate about policy or specific issues unless we know we have we're living in a sovereign country and we have a government that actually has interest in representing us.
Right. Because it doesn't really matter otherwise.
Right.
If, people keep voting for different things, but get the same result.
Exactly.
Then the system is fake. And that's the point where people start to go crazy and do radical, violent things, which I'm completely opposed to. I just want to say that at the outset. Yeah. I hate violent radicalism more than anything. And I feel like that's the result of people realizing their system is fake. So you have to make it kind of real.
You're right about that. And, we've been seeing more and more political violence in this country, and it's terrifying. I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I can explain why it's happening.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't want things to devolve further. And here's the other reason why I decided to come. So I knew that you moved here. You moved to like a rural part of the country. And I live in a big city. And I think that living in a big city and spending most of your time in a big city kind of blinds you to the rest of America. A lot of Americans live in rural parts of the country.
Yes.
And I want the opportunity to like speak to them, like get to know them, understand where their hearts and their minds are at. And so I saw it as an opportunity to like expose myself to people that.
Let me put it this way. Having actually lived and worked in rural areas for multiple years, I feel like the vast majority of people in rural areas, if they tune into this Tucker Carlson bullshit, they know he's fake as hell. They know he's fake as hell. Like when a city slicker walks around in cowboy boots. They can tell.
I otherwise wouldn't get an opportunity to speak to. And I think you've hired like drivers to bring people, to where you're at.
It's very far away, yes.
Yeah, the airport's very far. But I love that because they're not like, they're not Uber drivers.
They're like unemployed loggers and stuff.
No, but they are. And
I know.
I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having conversations with them. So one of the drivers who picked me up,
the way
Jen,
that conservatives fetishize rural America for its homophobia while also leaving them to die in disasters will never not be sickening.
They literally, like Trump is still, like, I checked like maybe a day or two ago. He was going on a multi-day bender on Truth Social, like declaring, yes, you can have disaster relief and you can have disaster relief and you can have disaster relief. Like he was personally signing checks to each state. And it was like a month, in some cases, like month and a half, 2 months after the disasters had happened.
She mentioned the big, beautiful bill that just passed. And, I can tell she identifies as Republican, and she wasn't happy with that bill. And I suspected that most ordinary working class Americans, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are not happy with that bill.
Yes.
The $1.1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, that's what she brought up. She brought that up. And I thought that was really fascinating. Now, if you talk to someone who identifies as a liberal Democrat, they'll probably think, oh, these Republican voters, they're so greedy. All they want is tax cuts. They want to cut the social safety net. But no, actually, when it comes to ordinary people, there's a lot of agreement, a lot of agreement. A lot of people are suffering right now. And, you have all these different industries, especially, beginning in the 90s, offshoring, all these jobs that have been destroyed. I mean, most people work in the service sector at this point, and manufacturing jobs are gone. I think that's part of the reason why Donald Trump has been so appealing to the MAGA base.
Without question.
Right. And so I want ordinary people to just consider the contradiction here. So if you're a liberal Democrat and you're under the assumption that Republican voters are just greedy and they want to cut the social safety net, why would they love Trump so much, who ran as an economic populist? Now, I don't think that Trump has carried out his promises because of, well, there's a lot of different examples I can cite, but the most recent is the so-called big, beautiful bill. Yeah, there are some provisions in there, no tax on tips. It's going to be means tested, and it also expires in 4 years, whereas the tax benefits that disproportionately benefit the wealthy are permanent. The no tax on, the elderly or Social Security, that also will expire, and it's up to a certain amount. I think it's like $6,000 if I'm not mistaken. The child tax credit, I think, was just peanuts compared to what I think this country could afford in helping families. You want to encourage people to have kids?
Yeah.
Okay, best way to do it is to create an economic situation where...
Again, the issue is I feel like so much of this is misplaced in the context, right? Like, Republicans don't care about people having kids. Republicans don't care about like actually fixing the birth rate issues. They don't care about any of that shit. It's just a vehicle to further their white nationalism. That's it. It's just a vehicle for the whole South will rise again mentality that they're bringing to the table, They called it the Southern strategy for a reason here, guys. And like the fact that there is already all of this misunderstanding fundamentally of the conservative position, especially the conservative position that Tucker Carlson embodies, it's flabbergasting, really. It's flabbergasting. I'm flabbergasted.
Couples feel comfortable bringing life into this world.
I agree.
And then no tax on overtime. That's another example. That's also means tested, and that's a provision that will expire in 2028. It's just interesting to see which provisions are permanent and which are set to expire in 4 years when, Trump is done with his term.
I mean, like, can we, what about Medicaid? What about Medicare? What, like, we're talking about the peanuts instead of the, I almost said we're talking about the peanuts instead of the brittle, but that's not a phrase people use. But if it was, it would be pretty good.
So if you really want to represent the working class, you got to put your money where your mouth is. And I haven't really seen it to the extent that Trump claimed he was going to help the working class in this country.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's a revealing and unpleasant fact.
Can I get that clipped? Can I get, here's a revealing and unpleasant fact? I think that delivery was good. I'm on it. Thank you, Gamer G.
Mexico is facing a dangerous outbreak of New World screwworm. Ugh. Screwworm is a flesh-eating...
What? What? What is this? This is the show you went on? The screwworm.
Parasite is devastating to livestock and to humans. Ugh. Despite this, the Department of Agriculture has reopened foreign livestock imports, including from Mexico. Does that sound wrong to you? Does it sound revolting? Well,
what?
Yeah.
What?
Our friends at Merriweather Farms agreed. They sounded the alarm on what could clearly be a serious threat to your health. And it worked. After Merriweather's campaign, agriculture
I just, it's not even a worm, it's a fly. I can't believe he has an ad for that's so, I don't know, blatantly anti-Mexico. It's kind of crazy.
The worms are back. The worms are back.
Secretary Brooke Rollins suspended Mexican livestock imports until we can certain that our food supply and our citizens are safe, including from screwworm. So the story tells a lesson and it asks an obvious question. Why should you rely on untrustworthy foreign beef?
Holy fuck. Anna, this is the show you went on? Where he's like maligning the beef of foreign nations? Why are you like this? Oh my god.
To feed your nation. The answer is that you shouldn't rely on
Yeah, even his ad reads are racist. What the hell?
If you agree, we hope you'll support Merriweather Farms. In a time when so many are selling out, they have the courage to stand up for what is right, and all of their meat comes from this country, the United States. We know because we eat it every single day. Visit Merriweather Farms, MERI.
Wait, you eat this farm's beef every day?
WETHER farms.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker for 15% off your first order. Real meat, real values, and it's delicious. So when did you...
As opposed to the fake meat and fake values? What?
The whole reason
What are you doing?
screwworm is safking close to our border is that we cut off foreign aid to Central American countries.
I'm still trying to absorb the racism in that ad. It's crazy.
Like, have your views changed?
I have some views that have definitely changed. Yeah. I wouldn't say that I like swung from far left to far right.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, actually. I mean, I don't think I can answer the question, so I don't know why I'm asking it of you. But like, what do the terms mean now? And for whatever it's worth, I've settled on people who are honest, people who lie.
Right.
And that's like the only division. Maybe you have the honest party, the liar party, or something, in the future. But clearly you've...
Yeah, this is a guy who has no idea what he's doing in politics. That's why he goes to Turning Points USA events.
Started thinking things or thinking through things that you hadn't before. And God bless you. That's like the greatest privilege of adulthood. You get to think for yourself. It's happened to me a lot. But how did that start?
Well, I mean, it started with like personal experiences, and it often does, right? Like often your policy preferences will slap you in the face, and then you're like, oh, I don't like that,
Right. No, I get it.
Because sometimes there are unintended consequences. I'll give you a specific example. So I was very much supportive of the defund the police movement in 2020. And it was because, you see this video of
oh boy,
a man like dying on camera with a police officer refusing to ease up on him. And it really made me angry. I felt that it was, whatever you think about George Floyd, I don't care, right? Like what was happening in that moment in that video was so disgusting to me and so unjust. And so I was like, no, I totally bought the narrative that it's not actually about like abolishing police. It's about, taking some of that funding and investing in social services.
That's exactly what it's about. That's what Zoran Mamdani is doing. Gonna do with the budget. That's what Omar Fateh is gonna do with the budget.
Or in social workers. So social workers respond to certain calls instead of the police. That actually has ended up being pretty disastrous in California, in Los Angeles in particular, because I've seen it firsthand.
And
they did that. There's an entire new department that they took money from the police. I don't think that happened, actually.
You're from there.
I'm from there. My best friend since childhood, she's a social worker herself. And I've talked to other social workers about what their experience has been like. And they're like, I actually interviewed one for a piece I wrote for Real Clear Investigations. And she told me, look, it hasn't really worked out the way people have thought it would work out. Oftentimes we'll go to a call and it's supposed to be a nonviolent person a nonviolent call. Someone's having a mental health episode, but they'll show up and oftentimes it'll be someone who does have a weapon. It's not a gun, but it's maybe a knife and they feel threatened. So they have no choice but to call the police. And so in 2021, the Los Angeles City Council, was inspired by BLM, and they decided to take $150 million away from the LAPD's budget and instead invest it in other services. It actually ended up being even more.
Now I'm
we're spending more on police. More.
Saki Tanuki. You son of a bitch. You did it again. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. Very much appreciated. Thank you so goddamn much. And also, I just want to show you guys a fun little chart here. Let's take a look here. Come on, let me in. There we go. I don't know, guys. This doesn't look like very defund the policey. This actually looks like from 2012 to 2023, the budget for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department went up by $1.2 billion. So I don't think that's actually the opposite of being defunded, actually. Now, maybe funds were moved around, but not in the way that people who were saying, abolish the police or defund the police were calling for. Oh, sorry, Mr. Malachite. That's so correct. I'm so sorry. That's LASD, not LAPD. You're right. LAPD budget by year. Here, you know what? How about this image from the LA controller? Oh, damn, that's crazy. LAPD budget kept going up by year. You're telling me that in 2013 it had a budget of $2.4 billion, and when it was defunded in 2020, it went from over $3 billion to just $3 billion? Oh no, the horror. The horror! How will they operate at record levels without the same budget? I can't wrap my head around this. The LAPD was able to do all the safety things back in 2013, but somehow with a third larger budget, they won't be able to manage.
On the LAPD than we ever have, like record amounts. And the reason why is because you have to really ask yourself before you make these decisions, okay, do we need this many officers? Let's compare Los Angeles to other huge cities. What's the police officer or sworn officer to citizen ratio? And in LA, it's always been historically lower, much lower than other major cities. So at the peak of the LAPD and the number of sworn officers in the LAPD, we had about 10,000. After the cuts and after all the difficulty in recruiting new sworn officers, because people don't want to be police officers anymore for understandable reasons. It's not a desirable job when you have people constantly, talking about how terrible cops are. So now we have about 8,500. And as a result, the remaining sworn officers are working insane overtime, like crazy. Like we have one police officer in the LAPD. I think his name's Nathan Corey. He made $600,000 one year because of police overtime. So
won't you think of the poor, struggling police officers, the humble gumshoes who are making but a small pittance of $600,000 per year? How terrible for them. Yeah, that poor bastard. How could they do that to him? How dare we? Checked it. They cut the costs because of COVID. Yeah. Also, COVID happened and a bunch of older cops quit the force because they could retire instead of continuing to go to work.
Right now, taxpayers in Los Angeles.
600,000?
Yes. So right now, taxpayers in LA are kind of confronted with this situation where they're paying far more for less as it pertains to policing.
I mean, far be it from me, but a humble blue jean farmer. But it kind of seems to me like the solution here is, hey, maybe we shouldn't be paying someone $600,000 per year in overtime. That seems excessive. That seems excessive, actually.
Since there is a shortage, there's longer wait times. If you
could hire, I don't know, 20 social workers for that cost.
Call 911 and you need help.
Yeah, are the police overfunded or underfunded? Both.
Some people complain that they'll call, and if it's not, like, let's say someone was the victim of a burglary, obviously you're not in imminent danger. So they'll call the cops and hope that someone will show up, take fingerprints and maybe find who burglarized them. They never do. But
yeah, because cops aren't going to go look for your burglarized property. Cops aren't even going to look into like more important matters. Like, what do you think cops are doing out there? Helping you? No, they're giving like traffic tickets and shit.
They don't show up for hours and people get really upset and they're like, why is this happening? And what's really interesting is I try to explain why it's happening and I get called all sorts of names for doing it, but I don't care. The truth is the truth.
Wait, what do you, okay. First of all, why are you one of the only people willing to admit you were wrong about defund the police? Like, why were you willing to say?
Again, the argument just gets terminated by Zoran Mamdani's response, which is just that, like, yeah, cops are doing too many things. Let's take the things that don't need to be on their plate and give them to people who specialize in those things. Social workers, people with access to like homeless services, so many other aspects of society work like this. Why not just specialize departments so that cops aren't showing up at every kind of interaction? Anytime like a mentally ill person like has a crisis, shouldn't be cause for a man with a gun to show up. Also, Alec Gunther, thank you so much for the raid. Folks, go follow Alec Gunther, friend of the show. And hello, Kaname Kun the Alpha.
Again, bless you. It's the beginning of growth. But I've done it myself many times. But why were you willing to admit that?
Because at the core of who I am, I think as a journalist, I didn't enter this line of work to be a mouthpiece for anyone. I really care about the truth. And I feel that if you want to live in a democracy, you have to make sure that people are getting accurate information to make the right decisions for themselves once they're casting a ballot.
That's right.
And so I felt angry because I felt misled by the media.
Yep.
And now, it was partly my fault too, because I was in a bubble and I was only getting one side of every story. And even if I agree with that side, I should at least hear what the opposing argument is.
Good job,
and I wasn't
Johnny
going
Ramo.
out of my way to do
Way to
that
protect
before.
your neighbor.
Now I do. And so I see things as far more complex and nuanced. And it's hard to make an argument that's...
Yeah, some things are complex and nuanced. Other things are pretty straightforward, though. Like not everything is complex. Sometimes a question is binary.
Going to appease any audience at this point, because I think a lot of Americans have been conditioned to be partisan and prioritize partisanship before truth. And I think truth is what will set us free, genuinely. Truth will help us ensure that we have a better government. And I'm sorry, one side or the other does not have a monopoly on the truth. They just don't. And one side might get something right one time. The other side might have a good point when it comes to a different issue. And I think we just need to be open-minded. And more importantly, we need to have conversations with people. Because if you just rely on what the media is saying about a particular political figure or a particular media figure, why are you letting them tell you what to think about individuals? Why don't you actually do a little bit of digging or have these conversations yourself and try to figure out who these people really are? Like the speech you gave at Turning Point, you said a few things in there that I might not agree with, but like the overall message was so courageous, and I never thought in a million years I would hear it at a conservative conference.
I'm flabbergasted by this. The level of glazing is it's embarrassing. It is.
Never.
It's just interesting. Well, the truth is wherever it is.
Also, I've been meaning to cover this Tucker Carlson speech because I know it got like a lot of play outside of the usual conservative containment field. And this is why he's so dangerous. He's so dangerous because he says things that people are like, wait a minute, a conservative wouldn't say that. But the issue is like, yeah, because he's a fascist. It's called lying, guys. He does not care about this shit. He never has. Like ever. Dude is emptiness in a suit.
And you try to recognize it, but I hope I'm going to give you my text, and I want you to text me, if you will, criticism of what you're saying.
The birthing person to why I left the left pipeline is 1-to-1.
God damn it, Sake Tanuki. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs.
Now?
Okay.
Because I want to keep a list of people who are offended by what you're saying, just in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could anyone be offended by what you're saying now?
Yeah. Well, it might not be...
You're not...
I'm not offended by it. What I am is just like, I don't know, it's demeaning. Like, there's a level of like incredulity, I guess might be the word. I've had enough time to be disappointed, so I'm not disappointed anymore. But like, this man hates like people who are not white. This man has a long history of working with white nationalists, neo-Nazis. This dude spent like every day fear-mongering against immigrants for like a decade. And it's just, I mean, like, you guys saw how he read that ad about beef. Dude's racist to the core. But what you said was so brave. Oh my God, give it a rest.
The criminal here.
Yeah. Well, let me just be honest with you. I think that most people who are going to attack me aren't even going to listen to this interview.
No,
it's just
that's
the fact that we're having a conversation with each other.
Ha, you fool. I've watched 22 minutes of it.
I take offense to people trying to police who I can talk to.
I'm not trying to police who you can talk to. I am just reacting to this conversation openly and honestly. And it's, again, deeply embarrassing for you. I don't even have the words for it.
In fact, the more they try to police me, the more I want to talk to the person they forbid me to speak to. Honestly, I've always been like that. I've been like that since I was.
The issue isn't, oh, you're forbidden from talking with Tucker Carlson. But I feel like if you want to be responsible about that, you have to push back on his points. You can't just like sit there and tell him he's the best thing since sliced bread. What are you doing?
As a kid, my mom knows it better than anyone. I'm just a little bit rebellious and I don't like to be told what to do. I hate it.
And what to think.
Yeah.
And who you can talk to. I mean, that's like that's a core decision. Who do I associate with?
Yeah.
Who are my friends? Who am I having dinner with? Who do I marry? I mean, if you allow other people to make those decisions for you, you're not free.
No, you're not. And oh my God, what a terrible career path to be a journalist who doesn't get to have conversations like with people that they're curious. I'm curious about you. I am. Right. You were a neocon.
Yeah, I was.
I became.
Hard to believe that.
It is hard to believe that. I became political.
Pack it up, everybody. We're done. Oh, disgusting. Truly disgusting. Yeah, the terrifying demon laughter. Can we clip that laugh? Probably. We do have the technology.
Politicized.
Anna, you're not a journalist. You're an actor in theater.
I mean, it's true. Like, at this point, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's any coming back from this. Like, I don't think there's any coming back from this for TYT. Like, if you're at TYT, like, now's the time to jump ship. Like, this is some end of days type apocalyptic backlash coming your way. Playing buddy with one of the most prominent fascists currently influencing the American right? God.
In the great words of my first openly queer friend, this reeks of desperate. You can and should do better.
Damn, Caracal. Thank you for the $5 super chat.
In the lead up to the Iraq invasion in 2003.
Yes.
I was in high school and I remember in 2002, I went to like a hippie, magnet school and we had Peace Day annually. And I remember giving a speech in 2002 to make the case against the preemptive war in Iraq. And I remember, you're going to laugh at this. I remember in English class, we were reading a play, The Glass Menagerie, which I found deeply boring. And I had I had a cutout of a New York Times article in which Bill Kristol was one of the people the reporter interviewed. And, Bill Kristol loves war.
Yeah.
Hardcore neocon. And I just remember just sitting in that English class, reading his quotes and seething over it and thinking to myself, I can't wait to one day get an opportunity to confront him. And I actually did get that opportunity. It wasn't about war, but it was a Politicon panel debate about healthcare. And, I kind of brought up the fact that Israel has universal healthcare and Americans don't.
What did he say?
He was so unprepared. There's a picture of him, like he has index cards, like someone wrote notes down for him and he's just fumbling with the index cards. He doesn't know what to do. And then once the whole panel discussion was over, someone who was with me overheard him say, damn it, she came prepared. Something along those lines.
Yeah, it's arrogance. It's people who've been told since they were small that they're brilliant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Bill Kristol, Ted Cruz. I mean, it does distort you and it actually makes you dumb paradoxically over time.
Tucker Carlson was never told that he was brilliant.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you're never pressed.
Got to stay humble.
I completely agree with
you.
It's not hard for me. given my circumstances. You probably heard about 8 Sleep. Lots of people are talking about it. It is a company with one mission, improving your sleep. And it's changing the way people do that.
Now, instead of getting into your bed at the end of the long day, you'll get into your Glee Glorb. That's right, you just enter the Glee Glorb and everything will be all right. The Glee Glorb, now at 8 Sleep. Feel the tendrils. I keep hearing streamers talk about pushing back against bad arguments. I think they're pushing back against them, but in the wrong/sexy way. I don't know exactly what you mean. Can you elaborate on that? You don't have to like dono with the message, but I am curious.
The way they get a good night's rest. We just got word that their team is launching a new, that's when we know.
Yeah, totally.
And okay, so you live in the same place. That's also hugely helpful because you can see it over time, the same place.
True.
Like, you know Ventura Boulevard, you've lived near it your whole life.
Right.
So what did you start to notice? Like, what is it like? What are the effects?
Well, I started noticing that homelessness really exploded in Los Angeles. Like,
the homeless. Man, we're doing the greatest hits. How long until Birthing Person?
it's always been a problem in LA.
Yep.
But it now touches every like square mile of that county. And it's just gotten, during COVID, it was unbelievably bad. And I just felt like it was inhumane seeing what was going on. And it wasn't just that there were a lot of homeless people. It was that there were a lot of homeless people with like severe.
Well, like during the pandemic, a lot of people did wind up there was a spike in homelessness as a result of the pandemic. That's why like suddenly there was all like the eviction moratoriums and stuff like that being put in place. Like there was a spike, but like I don't know, I feel like that should invest one in actual long-term solutions to homelessness, like building and giving people homes, rather than, hey, we should embrace the police state.
Severe like mental health issues.
Yes.
And they can't make decisions for themselves. They're like literally, I can't tell you how many times on my way to work on the freeway, I almost
the boonies. I see what you mean. Thank you very much.
hit a mentally ill homeless person who's on the freeway.
On 405?
Yes. And I can't imagine what I would go through for the rest of my life if I ever hit someone with my car, you know? But like, why are we living in a society that like thinks that this is okay? This is not okay. This is not okay.
No one thinks it's okay. The reason that society doesn't do something about it is because of rich fucks like Tucker Carlson and his rich fuck friends. Like, he dedicates himself every day to increasing the number of homeless people.
The drug addiction, not just in LA, all across the country. Has there been any effort to do anything about this?
Zero.
And it makes me really angry.
The Sacklers are still billionaires.
Yep, exactly. And it's just, I find it to be, you want to talk about treason. Politicians who let this kind of stuff happen to the Americans they're supposed to represent, and people mistake that as me being anti-homeless. No. The people who defend what's happening right now, they're anti-homeless. 7 people died of drug overdose on the same corner near where I live in a 2-week span. 7 people, same corner. That wasn't a big scandal. The city council member who represents my district wasn't asked about it. She didn't have to defend herself. She's one of these city council members who keeps voting on the dumbest policies that do nothing to actually help these people, but somehow justifies the continuation of the same failed policies that have led to all of these overdose deaths, all of these people with mental health issues not getting the help that they need. It's awful. The whole situation is awful.
I mean, I lived in LA as a child. I've worked there on and off my whole life. I really love Los Angeles. I'll admit that. I just love it. It's just in a truly American city. The architecture is
beautiful,
unique to LA, or was. It's just it's what an ambitious, hopeful, affluent country builds when they get to the end of the continent.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow, there's nowhere else to. Let's build something amazing. And they built Los Angeles. And I've always loved it in my heart. So I go back there. I'm going back next month. And I'm shocked by it. Like, I can't even believe it. The encampment outside the Veterans building in Brentwood. I'm like, what is going on here?
You know, there's a whole lot of like shock and disgust at like homeless encampments, but I would really like to hear what they want to do about it, because so far I've heard we need to expand the police state and homelessness is bad, but we should do ... question mark.
And no one ever says anything. Well, but I don't
know.
live there. You tell me, do people talk about this a lot?
They talk about it privately, but it's really interesting because while there's this openness in regard to the failed policies in private discussions, no one wants to say anything publicly because you'll get the kind of treatment I've gotten.
The people are dying on the street.
Yep.
7 people at one intersection.
See, the issue I have here is that if you bring up the fact that, hey, there's a huge homeless encampment there, people will agree with you. If you say, hey, it kind of sucks, it makes me feel unsafe, they'll agree with you, right? Like, these are not new or novel thoughts or ideas. These are not, in fact, like wildly out there things to say or observe. But what's interesting about this is that on their own, any of those comments would be innocuous. So what is she saying that's getting the negative reaction?
7 people, Americans, and that's like verboten to talk about? How? Why?
Oh, you're stigmatizing your unhoused neighbors. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that statement.
Yeah, like it's weird to me to bring up homelessness as like a huge issue, but then be like, yes, the real problem with homelessness is that when I talk about the homeless derogatorily, like people get mad at me. That's the real problem with homelessness. No, like, okay, well, let's solve it by giving them homes. No, you can't do that. You can't possibly give them homes. That would be wrong.
Stigmatizing your it's like, no.
They're dead. And I feel bad about it.
I'm stigmatizing the very politicians who think that this situation is okay. The same politicians who took our tax dollars, $24 billion worth of California's taxpayer money, okay, squandered it by funneling it to these NGOs and nonprofits that are run by their friends.
I want like specific examples. Like I understand this is your general theory about what's happening, but I want you to lay out which of these NGOs, which of these nonprofits. I have no doubt you can find examples. So like, I don't know, list a couple, right? And if you can't, then that should lead you to some interesting and novel conclusions, right?
Oh, of course.
They fattened up their pockets. They didn't do anything to actually help those people. Nothing.
So when you say that at dinner,
yeah,
what's that like?
I mean, again, I don't have dinner with idiots, okay? So I'm not going to have dinner with someone who's like, no, I think we should keep stealing money from taxpayers in the highest tax state in the country. No, I'm not interested in that. But when I do have dinner...
Again, no wonder conservatives love the framing that, like, yeah, any money spent to end homelessness is just being scammed away. I wonder why Republicans love that messaging so much. Feel like maybe if you gave examples and then pointed out at policies you think actually work and are good, maybe that reframes the conversation a little bit.
Or with my friends or with, acquaintances or even like people that I just met, but, for whatever reason, our paths crossed and we're having dinner. They all agree with me. Most people agree with me. And I don't think what I'm saying is at all offensive, which is why I keep saying it.
Yeah, but the issue is that, like, what you're saying isn't offensive. It just seems to not be reality. When you're talking about people are getting mad at me for saying common sense things, I don't think that's why people are getting mad at you. I think that people are getting mad at you for observing the problem, saying the solution doesn't work, and then offering no solutions of your own. And that's deeply frustrating. And also, like, frankly, there's like a dismissiveness to like homeless people themselves.
I'm not going to stop saying it just because some idiots are going to try to smear me for doing it. No, I don't care. Like, these issues go way beyond me. You get what I'm saying?
Well, not only is it not offensive, it's pro-life in the truest sense.
Yeah, Belfast Bob, exactly. Because I think Belfast Bob in YouTube writes, "Fight poverty, not the poor." And I think that that's a really important distinction because conservatives fight the poor. Those on the left fight poverty or seek to abolish such a concept entirely. And I think that that is an incredibly meaningful distinction.
It's pro-human dignity. You don't want 7 people to die in an intersection. You're shocked and horrified and saddened by it.
Definitely.
And that's not shameful. That's evidence of decency and compassion. I don't understand how that just got inverted.
I don't want to go back to the days where we were criminalizing people who were suffering from drug addiction.
Right.
But what we're doing now is, I think, far worse.
Oh, of course.
What we're doing now is far worse than I'm sorry. What we're doing right now is far worse than putting people addicted to drugs in prison. What?
Of course it is.
You know, because at least if someone was using publicly, which by the way, right now happens all the time, you see people, it's really devastating. Like you see people smoking meth publicly. You see people, oh yeah. You see, you know, do you know what the fentanyl is?
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's all over Ventura Boulevard at night. And it's, I don't know. It's
Will you describe it for people who don't know what you're talking about?
It's basically fentanyl. I guess it does something to your body where after you take it, like if you see someone who's literally standing, but they're like hunched over, like folded over.
Like a scarecrow.
Like, yeah. Exactly. They're on fentanyl. That's what fentanyl does to their body. And I never saw that once until recently. And now it's just all over Ventura Boulevard.
I'm pretty sure. I feel like I feel like everyone has seen people high in public before. Like I don't know. I think that's fine. Like it's not great, but also if they're minding their own business, that's fine. The same way like someone can have a mental breakdown in public, but if they're minding their own business, that's fine. Like if they're not a danger to themselves or others, I'm not too fussed about it. What I do want is to make sure that they are safe and can get treatment and help when they sober up. I don't know that that's like a particularly controversial thing to say. Like, I don't think the answer here is, oh, you arrest them if you see them being high in public. Like, that doesn't seem right either. But you're saying that what's worse for them is for them to not be arrested? I'm confused.
In the San Fernando Valley, at night specifically. You don't see it in the daytime. And it's the most heartbreaking thing ever. These people they're dying. Very likely they're going to die.
Someone's child.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but also there are ways that we know that we can save their lives through like safe use centers, you know, safe drug centers that can centralize like materials to get people off of drugs and alcohol while giving them a safe place where they aren't going to overdose. That's good, actually. One of the policies passed here in Minnesota was to decriminalize fentanyl test strips so that people who do drugs can test their drugs and make sure it's not laced with fentanyl, and so they don't accidentally overdose, right? Like, there are things you can do to save the lives of these people you claim to care about, and none of them is arrest them if they look high in public.
And no one cares. No one cares. I can't tell you how many times.
Yeah, safe injection sites. Yeah.
People just kind of like, you'll see videos of this online. People will have to walk over a guy who looks like he might be dead, sleeping on the sidewalk. You know, like it's made us almost numb because it's so much of our lives now. Like it's a regular occurrence. So when it's a regular occurrence, it becomes normalized. And
it degrades everyone.
Exactly. And I'm worried that since it's so normalized, nothing's going to be done about it. And I just find it immoral. And I find that it's wrong. And I'm disgusted with our politicians.
I don't think I could have put it better. Every word you said, I agree with passionately. And I don't know how this wound up a partisan issue at all. And I think
it's because it's the Trump era.
Yeah.
Trump offends the sensitivities and sensibilities of self-identified liberal Democrats so much that they think they have to like automatically take the opposite stance of what a conservative would say.
I mean, this is frankly just the stupidest possible conclusion you could attempt to come to. Sorry. Some people actually have a stance and have substance on these issues.
Or what a Trump supporter would say. But that's why I want people to start talking again.
Yes.
And not make Donald Trump like the nucleus of our politics.
Yeah, the same way you should talk to Sam Seder. I agree. You know, we should all talk together so much more. Go talk to Sam Seder.
Because I think that, you know, again, on a lot of the important issues, there's a lot of agreement among voters. They just have to allow themselves to think for themselves. Well,
I would say the most important issues. I mean, if you've got 7 people dying in one intersection in Los Angeles, you're not going to tell me that Iran is a greater threat to my country than that.
Exactly.
I can't think of a greater threat to my country than that, actually. And I don't have any idea why that's partisan. I'm interested in the governor. I know the governor of the state.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some, I know Gavin Newsom. He's got some talent, I think, and charming for sure. But like, what is going on? Is he aware of that? I've asked him, and I
You really find him charming?
well, in a kind of reptilian way. I mean, charming in the sense that his whole life is devoted to winning people over.
Yes,
kind of like Bill Clinton was, and I think he's good at it. But I also think someone said to me the other day, Newsom could pass a lie detector test on saying anything. Like there's a coldness inside that
he's
allows.
He's a sociopath. I think
That's
he's
kind of
a
the word.
snake oil salesman. I think he's a liar, and I think that he destroyed the state of California. Full stop. I've got no love for Gavin Newsom.
Oh my God, what a laugh.
I think that people
Holy
tend
shit.
to fall for appearances, and he's, for whatever reason, people think that he's attractive or something. I don't find him attractive because I know who he is and what he's done. He has shafted Californians who have lost everything in wildfires. The fire in Paradise, California was absolutely devastating. An entire community burnt down as the result of PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, that's the utility company, refusing to upgrade their aging equipment. Their equipment is over 100 years old. And so what started that fire was this metal hook that had eroded to the point where it broke. Power lines come crashing down onto dry brush. It sparks a fire and destroys an entire community. Okay. So you would want PG&E to suffer some consequences for that, right?
I think.
Well, Newsom bailed him out because it's one of his biggest donors. He recently, in an interview, I can't remember, he's been doing these like podcast interviews to kind of rebrand himself as
I've
like
noticed,
some sort of
yeah.
common sense guy.
I've turned it down.
Yeah. Don't fall for it
I'm
because
not.
it's total BS. But, he said something along the lines of, oh, I take personal accountability. I made a big mistake by getting caught. I was at the French Laundry. It's like some ritzy, fancy restaurant during COVID after I told Californians, don't get together with family members during the holidays. It's very dangerous, whatever. He said that he was having dinner with friends. It was his friend's birthday. No. He was having dinner with his donors. So even in the context where he's pretending to take accountability, he's lying straight to everyone's face. And I can't stand it. I really can't. I want real authenticity. I want real accountability. I want politicians who are willing to see that the policies they advocated for aren't working quite as they intended, and they're willing to recalibrate, admit that maybe they got something wrong.
Of course.
I want humility. I want this country to improve for the people in this country. And unless we are willing to be honest, unless we're willing to tell the people trying to smear us, to silence us, that they can F off, nothing's going to improve. Everything's going to keep going down. Everything is going to continue devolving. In my lifetime, this country has only gotten worse, not better. And it's going to keep going in that direction. And I want that paradigm to shift. I want it to change.
Why do people disagree with that, do you think?
I don't know. I think there's...
I don't know why. I just can't figure it out. I can't even articulate the positions of the people I'm talking about. They're just insane. They're just insane, bigoted people.
Something psychological about it. I think that we've been conditioned to think of politics as black and white, good and bad, but I think it's more complicated than that. I think most Americans are good people who want good things for everyone, but I think the media kind of conditions us to hate the other side, whatever the other side really is. I certainly had those feelings, and things are different today compared to when I became politicized during the Bush era.
Yes.
I feel like during the Bush era, it was a little easier to see good and bad, right? So for instance, even among Republican voters, I think people had woken up to the fact that the neoconservatives had dragged us into wars that we shouldn't have been fighting. That a lot of people, Americans and civilians in these countries we were invading, were suffering as a result of this ideology. But things have got...
I can't believe I had her on my show. Like, I can't believe I ever respected this lady enough to have her on my show. I feel embarrassed. Like, I truly feel embarrassed.
A little more fractured. I think within the parties, there's like multiple parties. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
But when it comes to the two establishments, the Democratic establishment, the Republican establishment, there's a lot of similarities between the two.
They're in alignment.
Exactly. On the big issues that matter.
War and the economy.
War
are
and the
two
economy.
biggest issues.
100%.
Do I see what she's doing? Yes, I see what she's doing.
They love to like distract us with shiny things.
Yeah, have a race war. It's totally
100%.
fine. Yeah.
Now, I might be reading a little bit too much into this, but
They love to like distract us with shiny things.
Yeah, have a race war. It's totally
100%.
fine. Yeah.
All these
did that motherfucker just do the Nazi salute in front of her and she didn't say anything? I can't.
like social to like distract us with shiny things.
Yeah, have a race war. It's totally
100%.
fine.
You went on a show with a fascist and he Sieg Heiled in front of you. You didn't even like miss a beat. That's so ambiguous. I don't think it's ambiguous at all.
Something I have been scared to say to my brother I would like to say to Anna. You don't have to convince me Gavin sucks, convince me your replacement is better than him.
Yeah.
Thank you for the $10 super chat, Caracal. But I don't know. Can someone please clip this?
Like social issues. By the way, social issues with shiny things.
Yeah, have a race war. It's totally
100%.
fine.
Can someone clip that? I mean, he's doing it in a way that he has plausible deniability. I do think that his argument wouldn't be that, oh, I didn't Sieg Heil. His argument would be like, oh, I was referring to people who want to have the race war, right? Like,
Yeah.
They love to like distract us.
I'm just no mention of it on her part. Not even a like, did you just Sieg Heil? Like, not even like, wait, did you really just do that right now?
With shiny things.
Yeah, have a race war. It's totally
100%.
fine. Yeah.
All these like social issues. By the way, social issues are important.
I'm sorry. If anyone is looking for this in the future, it was at 40 minutes.
Have a race war. It's totally
40 minutes, 16 seconds. That's nuts, dog.
100%.
Yeah.
All these like social issues. By the way, social issues are important. I'm not minimizing them, but the way that they're framed by the establishment, I think, is interesting because it's intentionally meant to get us to fight each other constantly.
Of course.
Instead of considering what the big issues are and how we might actually agree on those big issues, what we can do to work together to, again, apply pressure to politicians to demand that they represent us instead of their donors, instead of moneyed interests, instead of a foreign government. So I think people are waking up for the first time. I'm a little bit excited because, the kind of speech that you gave wouldn't have happened 5 years ago.
No,
10 years ago.
No, I think that's right. And I wouldn't have, though I'm just struck by how normal and non-threatening and non-hateful and just basic most people's views are, including mine. I don't have any complicated views about anything. I'm not a very deep person at all. And I don't know why we've all internalized this shame that like some things must not be said. And it's like, why? I don't hate anybody. And in fact, I'm on guard against that. I refuse to because of my religious beliefs. It's like, I'm not hating anybody, period. But I'm also not going to be shamed into like ignoring obvious stuff. None of us is paying very close attention during the summer. The news cycle calms down, families travel, people are relaxed, you're at the beach. It's all great, except the people in Washington never stop. It gives them a chance to advance their agenda without you noticing because you're on vacation. That means new regulations, more censorship, the continued erosion of the Bill of Rights, the values that built this country. We want to
so how does Beam help me stop that? Because I want to save my country.
talk about something that can help reverse this trend. Beam's creatine. How is it connected?
Oh my god. Holy shit. This dude is selling a creatine powder to save the union. That's crazy. Oh my god. This is some next level advertising. Holy fuck. Yeah, you gotta build those muscles if you want to save America. Big dog.
Well, Beam's creatine is clean, no fillers, no synthetic garbage. It boosts cognitive function, it supports muscle strength, and it helps protect brain health as you age. The people in charge don't want you to be strong, clear thinking, independent. Of course,
Did you know that by eating your own shit, you can become strong, clear-headed, and independent? Did you know that? Well, now it's time to eat the shit for victory, for America, for your homeland, for your family.
because a population like that is a threat to their control. So now's the time. Beam is running a sale for our listeners for Prime Day. For the next 48 hours, get up to 40% off the whole store. That's everything. Their best-selling creatine, of course, but also the rest of their excellent products. This is their biggest sale the biggest sale they're going to have, the biggest you'll see anywhere, and it's only for our listeners. Go to shopbeam, BEAM.com.
I can't believe it. I can't believe he related like going on vacation during the summertime to like the fall of America. And if you have this creatine, you'll be able to hold the nation together. That's insane.
.com/Tucker for up to 40% off. Shopbeam.com/Tucker up to 40% off.
Can I ask you something
Yeah,
about
of
real
course.
quick? So I heard that speech, and by the time I finished listening to it, I thought to myself, he's going to run for president. That was a presidential speech.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's literally the last thing on my mind. Like, I
Really?
would never do that. No, I mean, unless I was like told by a higher power or something, but no.
Yeah, and I would never be told by a higher power to do something like that. Don't watch my episode about how I talk about how I fist fought with a demon.
No, I don't think I'm suited for that. Of course, I don't want that. I have.
In 2028, this guy's going to step forward and say that God came to him in a vision to tell him to run for office. You know it's going to happen.
A lot of happiness and balance in my life. I have a huge family. I'm the oldest male in that
Hey, Jack,
family, so I
the
feel like they're.
Politicon came back, but half of it was debate and the other half was as American Gladiators style games. Who would you most like to face on every game? Also love your energy.
D Boonies, thank you for the $10 dono. Who would I fight? I would want to face Ben Shapiro. If I knew I was going up against Ben Shapiro in an American Gladiators style of game, I would train. I would train nonstop. I would get absolutely shredded and dunk on that fool. I would knock him into the slime pit. He would be moist in a way he's never experienced before.
Wet ass P word. P word is female genitalia.
I would be the one to prosecute his president.
No, she's gonna prosecute the president of the.
Then I'd give him a wedgie.
A lot of things I'm paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
I have dogs who I really love. So no, like nothing about
Yeah.
that is appealing at all. And I've never had any political ambition of any kind. And I have even less now. I mean,
An evergreen sound clip. It is incredible that he chose to make those words and sounds on his show. That's one of the upsides of being like a relatively unproduced, low level streamer. I just make whatever sounds I feel like, and it's fine. I don't I think that's kind of neat. I have a lot of freedom in that regard. Jack would lose American Gladiators at the ball cannon obstacle. I'm not gonna block balls to the face. How did we get 0.5 subs? Somebody donated $7.50 and insisted it stood for a 0.5.
I've known a lot of people who've had that job, and it's really hard.
Oh, I would never want
Oh,
it. I would never want it. Are you
gosh.
kidding me? No.
And
way.
also the idea that like out of 350 million people, I'm the most qualified to lead.
Well, there's plenty of people who think that.
Like, I don't think that.
Yeah, no, I mean think that about
at all.
themselves.
I
Obviously,
do not
yeah.
think that.
Yeah, like Ted Cruz thinks that.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. And they're compensating for something. Some of them, I guess. I'm not going to be mean, but I'm not compensating for anything. So I have no interest. But here's my question. So,
I would never compensate for anything whatsoever. I, Tucker Carlson, have no insecurities.
you said the media are a huge part of this,
Mhm.
which is undoubtedly true. I've been in the media for 35 years. I know everyone in the media pretty much. There's some, mostly they're not evil. They're just kind of dumb, okay? There are some evil people. I could name them, like Joe Scarborough or something, who's like obviously really bad. But most people are not.
Joe Scarborough is really bad. Out of all the people you're picking that one? I mean, all right. Like, I mean, I don't like Joe Scarborough, but like, okay, I guess. Thistles Fries, thank you for the gifted membership. I very, very much appreciate it.
But they go along with it.
And for the second gifted membership, look at you go.
And the question is why? And one of the reasons is because they don't want to alienate their audiences. You are on one of the biggest, maybe the biggest, certainly one of the biggest liberal podcasts, progressive podcasts The Young Turks, you've been there for almost 20 years. I was amazed to find that out last night at dinner.
Yeah.
18 years.
You guys went out to dinner? You guys, you went and shared a meal with this absolute ghoul? What are you doing? What are you doing?
18 years.
I don't know how old you are, but I was shocked by that. And it's one of the biggest, and you are one of the biggest. And maybe our audience doesn't know this because they don't watch liberal podcasts, but you're one of the biggest. So you start saying stuff like this, you're gonna lose audience, you're gonna lose money, like actual money.
Yep.
Has that happened? Do you worry about that happening?
Yeah, that's happened. Let me just say that for whatever anyone might think about Cenk Uygur, who's the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, you know, he's a very, like, he's sometimes brash, combative, loud, and that turns people off. And I get that. They might not agree with his politics, but I just want to talk about who he is as a person, because if it weren't for Cenk, I wouldn't have the confidence to publicly admit I'm wrong, or the confidence to be genuine and honest about what I really think, because he provides a platform for you to actually say what you think and not get punished for it if it hurts the business. And it did hurt the business.
Wow.
Yeah. So we lost a portion of our audience for sure.
Based on what you said?
Based on what I said, and more.
And what did you say? You know, like, I don't know, like, kind of elaborate on that, because the things you said were very vague throughout most of this. So say what you said. Say it with your whole chest, you know? What lost you the audience?
What did you say that alienated people?
Oh, thank you for the follow-up question, Tucker. You're a doll.
I mean, okay, I would say that the straw that broke the camel's back was I agreed to go talk to Glenn Beck. He invited me to go on his podcast. You know, I obviously have disagreements with Glenn Beck, but I was actually shocked at how much we agreed on. You know, we talked about war. We talked about all sorts of things. And there were areas of agreement.
Why does Tucker Carlson have the perfect drag name?
Oh, fuck. I have never thought of it that way. Oh my God. That was so good.
I am very proud of the mental horsepower you have.
Matthew H., thank you for the $20 Australian. Very, very much appreciated. And holy shit, what a great observational dunk.
It was a pleasant conversation, but I didn't capitulate my values at all. Just because I'm talking to him doesn't mean I've done anything wrong. My views are my views. His views are his views. We had a conversation. Well, I come home thinking nothing of it. And one of our employees, someone who's a contributor to TYT, or was a contributor to TYT, decided to take that as an opportunity to make a big spectacle about the fact that he's quitting, because I decided to speak to Glenn Beck, who's like a threat to black bodies or something. I don't know, but it was.
Is Glenn Beck a threat to black bodies?
I have no idea. Is he? I mean, I didn't get that. I don't think Glenn Beck's much of a threat to anyone, to be honest with you. He might have.
Who is Anna talking about? I thought she was going to be talking about Benny, but I think I think she's talking about Pastor Ben. It was a false start for me too. Okay, cool. No, she's not talking about the trans woman at TYT. I think she's talking about Pastor Ben.
Some ideas people don't like, but okay.
But it was nothing that you.
Wait, why might someone assume that going on Glenn Beck's show is bad? Glenn Beck, black bodies. You know, here's an article from 2019. Glenn Beck says he's committing political suicide with new slavery exhibition. Life-sized photographs of the bodies of 4 African-American people dangled from nooses on Barney's tree in Glenn Beck's studio on Wednesday evening in Dallas. Beck didn't kill them, but some white man did. They were images of slaves who'd been hanged in the past for real, and then ... I think maybe this guy might not be I think I'm beginning to see why Glenn Beck might not be super great. Oh, also I scrolled down slightly. Here was the header image for that. Cool. I can't imagine why this would make people upset.
Specifically said it wasn't like
nothing that I said. I mean, no one was citing anything I said during that interview that upset them, that was so offensive that it was worthy of like publicly condemning me and making a big spectacle about how I can't work here because of Anna. And she spoke to this dangerous, dangerous man.
Did Beck say anything like so over the top that you were supposed to respond to it or something?
No. I mean, Glenn Beck.
So pretty moderate guy, actually.
He might have some views that aren't moderate, but we didn't talk about any of those things. Like,
that's kind of maybe a problem, right? Like if you have a nice conversation with David Duke and you never talk as a journalist about David Duke's, I don't know, more radical positions regarding race, I think that maybe that could present an issue, right? In a similar way, it might present an issue with Glenn Beck. Maybe, I'm just throwing it out there. Hey.
Like the conversation was really not offensive at all, in my opinion.
But they didn't cite anything. He didn't endorse Hitler or anything.
It was just the fact that I spoke to him. But,
wow.
Unfortunately, when you have someone make a public spectacle about quitting and making it seem as though I had done something so wrong, it signaled to a portion of our audience like, oh, maybe Anna isn't who she says she is. Maybe Anna is like a secret, like far right winger or a Nazi or I don't know.
How long had you been at the show at this point?
17 and a half years. It wasn't
so
too
that's
long
deep
ago.
cover. So you've been a secret Nazi for 17 and a half years.
Yeah, I'm really good at
You're playing the law.
I mean, I think someone can also just change their mind and be radicalized. I don't think it takes a huge mental leap to come to that conclusion, right?
Fun game, baby.
Yeah. But
so I'm sorry to laugh.
Let me just say this. I started working, like as you mentioned, I've been there for 18 years. Started working there in 2007. Okay. When TYT was basically a startup that no one knew about, the revenue for TYT at the time came from Air America.
Mm-hmm.
Air America had gone bankrupt a few months after I started working for them. And Cenk Uygur is amazing because he's like, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to find a way to keep this company afloat. And he did, to his credit. But I can't even explain to you how much of a grind it was building TYT. It was a grind, long hours, like blood, sweat, and tears, but we believed in it and we loved it. And I actually have like great memories of those years. We barely made any money at all, but we believed in what we were doing. And there was something really exciting about that. I went through all that. I helped build what TYT is today. And the audacity of anyone coming in as a contributor or anything else to tell me who I can and can't talk to that's offensive.
No one's telling you who you can and can't talk to. They're just disagreeing with the people you talk to and the fact that you made the decision to talk to them. They are entitled to that. They actually get to be mad about that if they're associated with you because it reflects poorly on them.
That's offensive. Okay, I earned this. You're not going to come into my house and tell me what my beliefs should be, who I should talk to. F off. Good riddance. Go. I'm not going to be censored by anyone. Not my audience. No.
Who's trying to censor you? Like, seriously, who's censoring you right now? Everyone is so mean to her. It's true.
One on the right. I don't care.
So sometimes when people sell products on TV, I love.
Damn, he really puts a lot of ads in here. It's crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
This product, I use this product. There's the question in the mind of the viewer.
Look at his like down home little bunker he's got here. He's got like a bunch of prepper oats or something up here. He's standing next to a goddamn safe. He's standing next to an old-timey map. How's that old-timey map gonna help you in your bunker, Tucker? It's very outdated.
Does this guy really use the product?
Also, what is this? I've never seen this flag before. Yellow flag with black circle. Oh, it's a signal flag. Okay. Signal flags J, Juliet, and I, India. So it's the I, India flag. India relays the message to other vessels that it is altering its course to port. When the two are partnered with one another, it is asking another vessel if they're stuck or have run aground. My bad. Interesting.
Does he really love the product? Would he keep the product at home? Ask my dogs. Yes.
Also, Sake
Now,
Tanuki,
we
thank you
are
for the
in
5
a
tier 1
garage.
subs.
I'm not going to tell you where it is because, again, this is prepping. But this is my garage. There's a gun safe. And this is
Oh my god, it's literally his prepping station. he literally he literally has a little prepping nook in his garage. That's, oh my god. The commitment to the bit is silly as hell.
a part of my stockpile of Ready Hour. Completely real. The second
There was nothing there to make you laugh, buddy.
I put it here, the second Ready Hour sent it to me, I felt peace of mind. Because no matter what happens, we're not going hungry in my house. I moved a lot of fishing gear out of the way to keep it in my garage, and ever since it's been here, I have felt the peace of mind that comes from knowing my family's not going hungry no matter what. Lastcountrysupply.com.
Holy moly, dude. It's all completely real. He cackles like a minion from a 1980s like crime film. You know, like one of the street gang minions.
Lastcountrysupply.com. It can be in your garage along with the peace of mind that comes with having it.
I have a nephew who loves you, and he's always, oh, Tucker, you got to interview this chick. She's amazing. And I'm so glad.
You need a random bit counter module to the left of your camera and type ad breaks for this one.
This one. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. You need a random bit and counter. I really do. I gotta be honest, I'm so discombobulated by like the entire tone and tenor of this interview, and then that happens, and I'm just, it is baffling. This is truly like, we've gone off the edge of the map. We are in like I don't know. This truly signals to me that we're in the cool zone, you know? We're in the cool zone. We're off the map. Anything could happen. Nothing matters, but everything matters simultaneously. And the fact that this is happening is definitely a bad sign, but it's so ridiculous at the same time.
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
I should do fake ad reads for fake products, or even better, fake ad reads for quality products.
It just makes me laugh. I mean, I love what you're saying, of course, but you also are making a point about the guy you work with, who started the company, owns the company, who even after some of your audience bolted over this, he didn't call you in and say, knock it off?
No, never. That's not who Cenk is. And by the way, I mean, he's had hosts on our network who he vehemently disagrees with. And he's had other hosts come in and like demand that those hosts get fired because of what they're saying. Oh, it's offensive. And Cenk's like, no, we don't do that here. And I think what informs Cenk's behavior, honestly, is the fact that at one time he was a self-identified Republican. This is when he was in college and stuff.
Yes.
And he and I have like a lot of these heart-to-hearts because I have these days when I am down about everything that's transpired because I do feel like it's unfair to paint me in a certain light just because you don't like the people I'm talking to. But whenever I need like a little bit of a pep talk, he'll mention what it was like as a college Republican. And he's like, Anna, it was unbearable because they wouldn't let me talk in class. Like they would do everything possible to prevent me from being able to speak.
Who's they?
Like other students or professors who didn't like his point of view.
Okay, liberals.
Yeah, liberals, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that really, really frustrated him. And so now as the CEO of the Young Turks, he's not going to turn around and censor other hosts because he disagrees with them.
A lot of people do, though.
A lot of people do, but to his credit, he doesn't. And that's why I've been there for 18 years. There have been other opportunities to make I love when people call me a grifter. I could have been a millionaire by now. I'm not a millionaire because I want to speak my mind, and TYT has been the only place that's allowed me to do it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, most people don't host shows, so they don't know the feeling. I have hosted shows, so I do know the feeling. If your audience starts to move out from under you, boy, that is, because that's your strength, that's your core, that's your revenue, of course. But more than that, that's your moral backing. Like you know, they may not like what I'm saying, but my people do. My audience does. And so if they bolt in meaningful numbers, boy, there's nothing scarier. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, it is scary. I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, being scared didn't deter me, but I was more concerned about what it was going to do to the company overall, because if things were bad enough and we didn't have enough revenue to keep every employee, people were going to get fired or laid off. And I I would really struggle with the guilt. I would feel responsible for that. And so I'm glad that that didn't happen. And we're rebuilding. And it's a dream come true for me because I want to build an audience of open-minded people who aren't going to like run for the hills the second they hear a point that they disagree with.
Or that they haven't heard before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of that where if you get past the initial...
I mean, look, there's nothing inherently wrong with that desire, right? Like, you should seek to cultivate an audience like that. But the issue is that's not what happened to Anna. People weren't bolting for the hills because they heard something new and they were scared by how shiny it was. Like, that's just not what was going down.
Shock. Like, you'll say something, be like, well, first of all, you're not allowed to say that. Second, I've never heard anybody say that. And I kind of hate you for saying something new. But I do think that wears off after a moment. And people are like, well, actually, is that crazy? Is that hateful? I don't think it is. And you can kind of convince them after that.
You have a decision to make. You can either build a niche audience, and I think that's the worst option because a niche audience wants to be catered to, and you have to be very careful to follow a very specific script. I'm not interested in that. And I think that I personally went through an era of being a little bit radicalized on the left, and I regret that because I unwittingly did build a bit of a niche audience. But those folks...
What do you mean radicalized?
I totally bought the narrative that like everyone on the right's racist, everyone on the right is greedy, that kind of stuff.
So Trump term 1, when everyone just got hysterical about Trump.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it.
That was the era that I'm not proud of. And I was basically building my own prison and I didn't realize it. And what I mean by that is once you have a niche audience, you're not allowed to deviate from a very specific and narrow ideology. And I don't want that. I'm not an ideologue.
Genuinely, there are so many differences in left-leaning belief and ideological niches. Like the idea that like, oh man, you can't even say anything and be on the left anymore. Like, that's just not true. This is just such like it's a non-starter of a position. Like, yeah, like I feel like if you are joined up with a progressive leftist network that has built its entire reputation on being like progressive and leftist, like when you deviate from what a progressive leftist would believe, people are going to look at that a little bit weird. People aren't going to be happy with that. You built up that audience. And like, there's nothing wrong with changing your mind, but like, you should be able to argue in favor of your position. And instead of arguing in favor of the position, you basically just threw up your hands and said, well, no one would listen to me anyway, so I might as well not even do an argument. And that just doesn't work.
I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I'm willing to recalibrate on policy if I see it implemented and it's not working correctly. I ultimately just want truth. I want justice, and I want a country that represents its people. That's what I want. That's my core.
Do you feel like it is bridgeable? Like there's so much anger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and by the way, I do think the immigration thing and the crime thing sort of obscure it. Like the real fight is between educated whites. Like they're the ones who really hate each other.
Really?
I think that.
Tell me.
I think I'm sorry. It's really, really weird when you start throwing around the phrase educated whites. I don't know. From a guy like Tucker Carlson, I don't like it.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think it's, I mean, I just know from my own experience, I often say this, but they called me a racist for many, many years. And I would always say
you hired an open white nationalist to write your show, man.
Racist, I would just admit it because like there are worse things, but I'm not.
If I was racist, I would admit it, but I'm not. But there are worse things than being racist. When I say that Tucker Carlson is a sussy little baka, this is what I mean. Hey, remember when he did a Sieg Heil not like 20 minutes ago?
Not. And I would get so hassled, always by the same demographic. And I would always say to my wife, no black person's ever yelled at me. In fact, I've been hugged by a lot of black people. It's just a fact. I'm sorry, it's just true. And they don't seem to think I'm a racist, but it's always middle-aged white women who were yelling at me at Logan Airport.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh my
like,
gosh.
what is that? No, I'm
Yeah.
not whining. I mean, I don't really care,
no,
but it's just interesting. And so I think it's almost like fratricidal. It's like professional class whites who read the New Yorker, read the New York Times,
Mm-hmm.
like they're truly angry at each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I've just noticed this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just
White people be angry all the time. Us white people, we just can't stop being angry. It's almost like we'll make entire podcasts about being angry. Crazy.
it's propaganda and
time.
this thought that certain things are way worse than they really are, or that like they're
The vagueness of this right after he said there are worse things than being racist is sussy as fuck.
perceived threats, I think, aren't real to the extent that they think it's real.
What are
And,
the-
And maybe I need to like elaborate a little bit, right? Maybe I need to elaborate on what I mean.
I think worse than they really are, or that like they're perceived threats, I think, than they this thought
I
that
apologize for dead naming the Baileys. Lol. Strike one, I'm out. I'm too lazy. Maybe guys are easier. Lol. Good night, Jack and chat.
D Boonies, thank you for the $50 super chat. That is very, very kind of you. And also, it's all good. It's all good.
yeah,
truly angry at each other.
yeah.
I don't know. I've just noticed that.
See, it's all just innuendo. Like, oh, you read the New York Times, you read the New Yorker, you're white. Oh, you're just so angry. But about what? Each of these circumstances is unique. What are they upset about? By overgeneralizing, you effectively like destroy any of the informational value it has, which is intentional, right? Like Tucker Carlson is intentionally destroying that in order to allow the audience to fill in the blanks. He's essentially creating a Mad Libs on the go.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's propaganda and this thought that certain things are way worse than they really are, or that like their perceived threats, I think, aren't real to the extent that they think it's real.
What are the-
I'd love specifics.
By speaking out and by confronting you and by, doing what you're referring to, I think they get a sense of I'm doing something about it. You
right.
know?
No, I get it. No,
Yeah.
I'm not even attacking him. It's just interesting to me. Because it's clear, it's totally real in their minds.
It is, of course.
It's not
yeah.
just performative. It's like I felt rage before. So, and as you so eloquently described, like that rage obscures, and I think maybe it's designed to obscure the reality of like physical degradation all around us.
All around us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is kind of the point. I think it is to some extent intentional. But what? Since you do live in that world and have for so long, as rationally as you can, clinically as you can you explain what they're worried about?
Well, I mean, I think that their heart is in the right place.
Yeah. I'm giving them the presumption of good faith for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, when some rich lady yells at me in the ski lift line, she thinks I'm racist. I know they always say that. But then there's also like, there's a fascist takeover imminent. Is that part of it? Or what is the worry?
Well, I mean, okay, let's talk about the fascist takeover because
Oh my God, is she really going to start talking about how Donald Trump isn't destroying our democratic systems?
there is a part of me that's a little bit worried about that,
I am
to be
too.
honest.
I
Okay.
am too.
Okay. So
Not just part of me, a
Yeah.
lot of me.
and look, I don't
Notice how he just cleanly pivoted there? Notice how he just cleanly pivoted his position directly to coddle her.
I always say that. But
Yeah.
then there's also like, there's a fascist takeover imminent. Is that part of it? Or what is, I always say that. But
Yeah.
then there's also like, there's a fascist takeover imminent. Is
Like, I'm sorry, this isn't the setup for I'm worried about this with all of my being. This is, there is no fascist takeover imminent, right? Like, that's the implication here. Then Anna is like, well, I am worried about a fascist takeover a little bit. And he's like, well, yeah, me too, very, very much.
that part of it? Or what is
Yeah,
the worry?
well, I mean, okay, let's talk about the fascist takeover because there is a part of me that's a little bit worried about that,
I
to
am
be
too.
honest.
I am
Okay.
too.
Okay. So
Not just part of me,
Yeah.
a lot of me.
and look, I don't know what's in those women's heads. So I just don't I don't understand them. So I feel weird talking about what they're thinking and what motivates them.
Every person should be worried about the centralization of power and the use of technology to strip basic rights from citizens.
Yeah. Like
everybody.
Like the Palantir stuff concerns me a little bit. You know?
Anytime, I mean, the technology, not just Palantir, but all the emerging technology, supercomputing, AI, all of this stuff, facial recognition, like it could be used to enslave the population really easily.
Totally. Yeah.
So I don't know why. I mean, everyone should be freaked out about that.
Be worried about that, definitely. I'm also a little bit worried about, and I don't know how large this group of people in America happens to be, but you're hearing from them more and more. This idea that, no, we need to move toward a post-liberal and like post-liberal democracy. You know what I'm saying? Like a rejection of the democratic process overall. Like Curtis Yarvin is one of the figures who's been kind of preaching about this. He sounds really dumb, so I don't know how seriously people really take him. But he purports to want a monarchy in this country, which sounds insane.
Look, I'm opposed to monarchy. And the truth, however, is that the trends you're describing have totally discredited liberal democracy. That's my fear. And I think maybe it's intentional.
Oh, for sure it's intentional.
So chaotic that we beg for a dictator. I kind of feel like that's happening.
I hope people aren't begging for a dictator because you don't like the fact that the government isn't really representing your interests right now. Get a load of what it's going to be like to live under a dictator where you have no say at all.
Right. No, I'm talking more about like quality of life questions. Like if there are home invasions going on and the homeowner doesn't have any expectation the cops are going to save him, that kind of stuff, that's not theoretical. That's like, that induces panic.
True. Yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable even thinking about it. You know? So if you have a lot more of that, people will be like, I don't really give a shit about voting. What I care about is my kids not being killed.
Yeah. Actually, you make a really good point, which is why it's so important for Americans who value liberal democracy to really start thinking seriously about saving it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no mention of what Donald Trump is doing. We're talking around the edges of the actual people who are holding power and not actually addressing the ones who have the power. Like you're dismissing like the severity of the threat because you're referencing Curtis Yarvin, but you're not actually talking about the people who currently hold power and what they are doing. Like what I'm fascinated by, right, throughout so much of this is that this is, recorded presumably recently or relatively recently, presumably after the Republican budget gets passed, and not one word has been spoken about that yet. Not one word. Not one word about like the mass devastation on rural hospitals and infrastructure. Not one word about like the destruction of FEMA and the withholding of like disaster relief. Not one word about like the incredible amounts of cuts being done to our public health system. Not one word about any of that. Not one word about how this guy's like low-key slipping in, talking points about white people having lower birth rates. Not one word about any of that. And I don't know, I find it a complete dereliction of duty to not, like, if you're going to go on Tucker Carlson, like, not bringing this stuff up to try and reach his audience seems like, I know it's obvious that, like, she's not on the left anymore, but like, I want to communicate to you guys, like, if somebody was on the left and they did go on this show, it's a phenomenal opportunity to talk about these things to an audience that might care. And you might be able to get them on your side just a little bit, kind of like a Bernie Sanders does Fox News. But Anna's not even doing that. The low bar is not being cleared.
Yeah, that's what I want.
But don't you feel like when people are under, like if you were on a point.
Yeah, they ask, was this all caused by, Juniper on Blue Sky? They're like, yes, Juniper. Juniper bullied me, and that's why I'm a fascist now.
Plane flying across the Pacific that dropped 20,000 feet in a minute. And you're saying your prayers, maybe you're an atheist, you're saying prayers anyway, couldn't control yourself. And what would you be willing to do or give up in exchange for not dying? In other words, if you're totally panicked, you're in free fall in a commercial airliner, God, I will do anything. Like that's kind of what is happening with crime, I think.
Yeah.
What are you talking? Crime is at historic lows. Crime is at historic lows. I mean, like, guys, just as an FYI, I Googled crime at historic lows. Data shows crime in Detroit is trending down. Crime in California drops again. State records second lowest homicide rate since 1966, meaning that they decreased nearly 12% since 2023. Like, what are they talking about? The crime is like this killer jet crashing from the sky, except it's not, like, at all. This is just a lie in the fact that Anna can't even push back on it because she agrees. So somehow it's a dereliction of duty.
And not just crime.
Not just crime.
Yeah, I mean, so many issues. It is a problem when most Americans agree on something and our politicians know it, but they do the opposite anyway. And I've been increasingly angry with the fact that, you know, I feel that the interests of Americans and how they feel about going to war with Iran, for instance, right? Most Americans do not want to go to war with Iran. And it didn't matter, okay? The United States bombed Iran's nuclear sites on behalf of Israel anyway, which could have led to a full-blown hot war. It didn't because of Iran having restraint, but we're not done yet. And
but
so,
don't you feel ashamed that it didn't lead to nuclear war? This is the new line.
I know.
You are wrong. You're an idiot.
That's, by the way, that line is stupid.
How dare you worry about that?
Yeah, we're not. By the way, it's not over yet, and don't get too cocky. For the people making that point, don't get too cocky.
But why is it shameful to worry about a nuclear war or worry about a World War III? Why is that? It's being held up by the normal tiny brain people as, like, you know, evidence that you're just a ridiculous person. Your prediction was wrong.
Right. Well, I mean,
we didn't have a nuclear war. Shut up.
Well, maybe those folks have a point. Maybe we're the baddies. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should be more concerned about profits for, you know, bomb makers and weapons manufacturers and private contractors and the mercenaries that are currently working over in Gaza to shoot and kill people as they're waiting for humanitarian aid.
So how does that, it does feel like I've spent 35 years not talking about that topic because, one, I don't really have on a native level like super strong views about it. It's not my country. I wish everyone well in every country. And I mean that. However,
I have no strong feelings about an ongoing genocide. Okay.
It just got so in my face that I had to like say 4 things about it, for which I've been, you know, spent the rest of my life trying to deal with that, the effects of being called those names. But I feel like all of a sudden, like people you would not expect to weigh in on this, like, actually, this is too much.
Yeah. And I love it. I'm glad that that's happening. And I hope
you feel that there's been a change.
I do feel it. I mean, definitely. If it were the Bush years and this whole scenario were playing out during those years, the kinds of things I've been hearing people say publicly, I would not have heard. But I think what's happening this time around is you really can't deny what you're seeing on the ground in Gaza. You can't deny what's happening in the West Bank, you know, not just in regard to Palestinians, Palestinian Muslims, but also Palestinian Christians. You can't deny the fact that that one and only Catholic church in Gaza was bombed, you know, was attacked. You can't deny the fact that churches have been targeted in the West Bank as well. Like, it's, people can lie to us as much as they want, but the videos are out there.
How do you blow up a church if you've got munitions, laser-guided munitions that are so sophisticated that they can take out, you know, a guy in an SUV from 30,000 feet? How do you blow up a church with a giant cross on top of it?
It was just,
I mean, what about the mosques though? Like, what about all the mosques and the schools and the hospitals? Like, man, like, come on. How are you people being credulous about this? This is, by the way, a Christian nationalist talking point, right? Like, he only pretends to care because a church got bombed as opposed to a mosque.
It's an accident, Tucker. It was an accident.
Like it's not the first church.
No, it's not. And
do I think Tucker has the spoons to run for president? Absolutely. Tucker Carlson thrives off of hatred and malice and a thirst for power. Like, that's his main thing, right? he will absolutely attempt to run for office.
It wasn't an
close.
accident. It wasn't an
But
accident.
what is the answer? Can anyone get an answer?
I know the answer. Israel wants a Jewish state and they want to expand. They have something known as the Greater Israel Project. They intend to annex the whole of the West Bank. In fact, Miriam Adelson legally bribed Donald Trump to ensure that that happens. And Israel announced that that's what they're going to do, and they're doing
Did I walk into? Riverbait, curious Riverbait, weirdiga Riverbait stare.
A megastar, thank you for the sub. I very, very much appreciate it.
Can we finally talk about how badly Elon Musk bombed?
Too soon. Oh, God.
When it comes to Gaza, I mean, Hamas is so dumb because the atrocities they committed on October 7th gave Netanyahu and the Israeli government the perfect excuse to essentially do what they've always wanted to do, which is take that land. They're going to take that land. That's what they want. They're going to ethnically cleanse whatever remains of the Palestinian people. They're going to force neighboring countries probably to absorb 2 million people. And then at the same time, they're going to have settlers move on in, rebuild Gaza. Jared Kushner, by the way, soon after October 7th happened, was like salivating on camera about how that's prime real estate. It's disgusting. But anyway.
How can you move 2 million people right now?
Well, there was a story published this week, I believe it was in the New York Times, where Netanyahu and the Israeli government was in talks with our government in regard to getting aid from the United States in moving Palestinians out of Gaza. So when they bomb the church, it's because they don't want the church.
He's evil, sure, but I find it to be somewhat dorky. That's part of it's part of the appeal, though, right? For how do I put this? If you're an obvious Nazi, people don't want to be your friend. But if you're like the unassuming Nazi, people will accept you into polite society a bit more readily, right? This was what Richard Spencer found like about a decade ago. The idea that if you are clean cut and you put on a business suit, you become more acceptable in mainstream places, right? Even if you are spouting the neo-Nazi talking points. And what Tucker Carlson has iterated on is that what makes that even more palatable to mainstream conservatives is dressing it up in like, kind of a nature outdoorsman aesthetic. And then being vague and overgeneralizing while also constantly peddling this undercurrent of white nationalism, right? He's kind of like perfected like being able to be plausibly deniable about his racism, about his beliefs, right? Or at least, if not his beliefs, like beliefs that are going to get him into a position of power where, make no mistake, he might be fake in a lot of different ways, but he is ideologically a fascist.
That land is supposed to be part of the Jewish
You're not
state.
allowed to use my tax dollars to bomb churches.
Well, that's what they're doing.
I'll put up with a lot of stuff, but I think that's, and I've said this 100 times, let me say it again. I don't understand how any Christian leader in the United States can sit by and not say something about that. And Mike Huckabee, who has been a pretty slavish, devotee of the state of Israel, and I don't mean that as a compliment. He's a very nice man, but I disagree with him strongly. Even Mike Huckabee came out and said, whoa.
Yeah.
You can't kill Christians.
And American citizens.
Yeah. But I don't understand why that's not, if that's not a red line, then there's no red line.
I think it should definitely be a red line. But let me just say, Mike Huckabee made a statement, and that's nice. It's more than Biden was willing to do. Talk is cheap. Are you going to cut funding? Are you going to stop sending over the 2,000-pound bombs that are destroying people's homes, universities, churches, refugee camps, hospitals? Gaza's leveled. Deir al-Balah is like the last remaining portion of Gaza that still has some structures that people can live in. And they're currently doing a ground invasion there. They got to destroy it, of course. It's so obvious what's happening, and it's so unjust. And this is the area where, what democracy? I have no power. The government's going to take part of my earnings that I worked really hard for, not to help my fellow American citizens who might need health care, who might have fallen on hard times and can't feed their families and need help with food assistance. It's not going to go to them. It's going to go toward the bombs that are terrorizing people in Gaza, the West Bank. By the way, it's going to expand further than that. They've already
keep in mind, one of the problems with legitimizing Tucker Carlson here is that, well, Anna is correct on this issue. She is being used to legitimize Tucker Carlson's ideas on the issue. And Tucker Carlson is an anti-Semite. Tucker Carlson is like actually a bigot, you know? He just mainstreams his bigotry. He's like Candace Owens, but he's more subtle about it, you know?
Annex part of Syria, the Syria war, that proxy war, it was a proxy war for a reason. Turkey wanted to have influence and control over the area where the Kurds are at. Obviously, Israel wanted to annex portions of it, and they've been doing it ever since Assad fell. And you have a former al-Qaeda leader as the current leader of Syria, who's trying to capitulate to Israel, but obviously it's not good enough because Israel's still bombing the crap out of Syria. It's unbelievable. I have no ability to change it. It seems like the electorate in this country have no ability to change it because it doesn't matter which party you vote for, whether it's a Democratic presidential candidate or a Republican presidential candidate, they're going to get elected and they're going to get dog walked by whoever the prime minister of Israel is at the time.
How do we wind up supporting an al-Qaeda leader? I thought we were anti-al-Qaeda.
I thought so too. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. But I mean, this is seen throughout American history in regard to our foreign policy. I mean, we will fund the Taliban, we'll give them weapons to fight, you know, the communists. We want to avoid communism. And then we turn on them, you know, for obvious reasons after what happened on 9/11. But I mean, I think it's not.
Well, we were told 9/11 was done by al-Qaeda. So we've got to be pretty, I mean, that wasn't that long ago. We've got to be pretty anti-al-Qaeda because like if they actually killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11, which everyone says they did, and I'm willing to believe that, then how in the world could we let any al-Qaeda even exist?
Wouldn't you venture to say...
Yeah, we should go back to war in Afghanistan. Huzzah! Like, what the fuck, man? This is all so stupid. We're in the stupidest timeline. Mark Andreessen has started something called American optimism. It might be worth noting that Italian fascism was undergirded by something called Italian optimism, worth a look. Oh yeah, Mark Andreessen is like psycho. Like he's straight up psycho. Dude's brain has been molded and shaped by AI until it's nothing but putty. But I'll look more into American optimism because I'm sure it's psychotic as fuck.
It's required to ask these questions if you want to be a journalist.
Tucker Carlson asks questions the same you would to small children. Well, yeah, because he's going for the, you know, lowest common denominator, right, amongst his audience, right? Like he's trying to appeal to as wide a swath of the public as possible, and to do that, he talks like that.
I would say, and I would also say, you know, the Syria situation. I was always opposed to what we were doing in Syria. I understood exactly why we were doing it. We ended up killing or abetting in the murder of an awful lot of religious minorities, Alawites, a lot of Christians, and destroying the country. And, you know, I was attacked for, you know, you're an Assad apologist or whatever, but I don't know anything about Assad.
So are they al-Qaeda apologists?
Well, that's the thing. And we've gotten to a place now where it's really clear that the 3,000 American lives they say were lost on September 11th due to al-Qaeda are less important than whatever political or geopolitical consideration is driving our Syria policy.
Yeah, and it makes me sick.
So that's that's treason, of course, but it's...
I'm sorry, let's recap that real briefly.
Than whatever political or geopolitical consideration is driving our Syria policy.
Yeah, and it makes me sick.
So that's that's treason, of course, but
I'm sorry, this is breaking my brain a little bit.
Now where it's really clear that the 3,000 American lives they say were lost on September 11th due to al-Qaeda are less important than whatever political or geopolitical consideration is driving our Syria policy.
Yeah, and it makes me sick.
So that's that's treason, of course.
I don't know that that's treason, actually. Like I'm kind of shocked. She was just like, of
course. But it's more than that. That's like a profound moral crime, and it's also a middle finger in the face of every American.
Definitely. Yeah.
No
one
pushback.
Thing we could expect
whatsoever?
Our foreign policy would stay consistent on is we're anti-al-Qaeda because they killed 3,000 Americans.
Yeah, but I don't Well, I do understand our foreign policy
I
and
do
what
too.
drives our foreign policy. And it's a black pill for sure.
So I'm not just asking this because you have an Armenian last name, which you do,
I do.
but and I think you're Armenian. That's why you have an Armenian last name. But because you did a segment on this.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on between Armenia, big picture, and Azerbaijan?
Well, there was about 4 years ago, there was a pretty brutal war. Azerbaijan attacked the Armenians who were living in this area known as Nagorno-Karabakh. Armenians call it Artsakh. And historically, Armenians have had roots there. They're ancient churches, Armenian churches there. And that land, if you look at a map of where Nagorno-Karabakh is, it's like in the middle of Azerbaijan. Not exactly in the middle, but it's basically like, let's say here's Azerbaijan, like circle, and it's like kind of off to one side, Nagorno-Karabakh is. And the reason that land was, well, the whole of Azerbaijan was controlled by the Soviets, right? But during that time, Stalin essentially gave the land that makes up Nagorno-Karabakh to Azerbaijan, like promised that land to them, even though that area was populated by ethnic Armenians. And he did that. I mean, Stalin was evil in a lot of ways, but he was also very smart, which is the most dangerous combination.
Very smart.
Yeah. And so he wanted both the Azeris and the Armenians to be dependent on the Soviet Union. And the way to do that is to put the ethnic Armenians smack dab in the middle of, Azerbaijan. And so it became an issue because, throughout history, Armenians went to war with the Azeris in regard to controlling that land because most of the people there were Armenian. They wanted to control that land. And so what happened 4 years ago in 2020 is Azerbaijan's like, we want the Armenians out. We want to take over the land. And they went to war. Armenia is a tiny country. Russia has provided security guarantees to Armenia in the past, but unfortunately in this case, Russia didn't come to the defense of ethnic Armenians. They said that the, security guarantees had to do with Armenia and not Nagorno-Karabakh. So a lot of Armenians died. A lot of churches, ancient churches, were absolutely destroyed and bombed. And the Azeris engaged in the ethnic cleansing of ethnic Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh. They were forced out if they weren't killed. And some of them ended up in Armenia. And Armenia, of course, is going to take them in. But it's been really difficult because Armenia is a tiny country. It's a, developing country. It's landlocked and it's surrounded by enemies. And historically has been victimized by Turkey through the Armenian genocide. I mean, it's been pretty devastating. And it's, I've been very vocal about what's been happening in Gaza. And Armenians have been very proud of me for that. But a few have been like, why didn't you speak up about Nagorno-Karabakh? I did actually at the time, but it happened 4 years ago.
But why aren't the preachers talking about it? So churches were blown up?
Yeah. And by the way, I mean...
So I don't know much about this, so I've stayed relatively silent. I've been aware of this conflict for some time, but I cannot give you a play-by-play of what happened.
Religious leaders have been, but American media doesn't care about it. I mean, America doesn't care about Armenia at all.
Oh, I get it. It's a small country, but the Armenians were persecuted precisely because they were Christians. That's my read. I mean, there's no,
Yeah, they were the minority, the religious minority.
Of course, the religious minority at the very end of the Ottoman Empire, end of the First World War, and they were murdered in enormous numbers by the Ottomans, using the Kurds, I think, for a lot of it. And the Kurds, we love the Kurds. But I don't understand why. I just see this theme. You may disagree with this, but I see a global theme where the most peaceful religion in the world is taking the most abuse and there's the most murder of Christians. I don't quite know what that is. And I just am amazed that nobody says anything in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, Armenians don't have a powerful lobby that can bribe our politicians to care about them. So what's really depressing, though, is, we provide a lot of the weapons that Israel has. And Israel sold weapons to Azerbaijan to carry out the ethnic cleansing of ethnic Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh.
What?
Yep.
Is that confirmed?
Yes, it's confirmed. It's absolutely confirmed.
Israel sold weapons to Azerbaijan to kill the Christians.
can we maybe like check that framing like slightly? Because what Tucker Carlson is trying to push here is that like Israel is at war with all of Christendom. It's like a pretty famous and common white nationalist take, right? So there are cases where people have been persecuted for being Christians in different parts of the world. That's not the inconceivable thing here. But his framing is that Israel is providing weapons to kill Christians. Because his entire thing is that, yeah, exactly, Bizu. He's saying the Jews are playing the Muslims and the Christians against each other. Because people who think in this Christian nationalist, Christo-fascist frame, they think about the world as the movement of religions, and that like Christians in another part of the world are the same as Christians in a different one, and like all of Christianity is one homogenous blob, all of Judaism is one homogenous blob, all of Hinduism is one homogenous blob, and they're all bumping into each other and vying for dominance. They view like the concept of Christendom as a unified geopolitical bloc.
That's exactly what happened.
You're sure?
Yeah, anyone can look it up. And look, if I'm ever wrong, I will admit it, but this is something I've researched deeply. Where did Azerbaijan get its weapons from? There have been rumors that they also were sold weapons from Russia, but there was less confirmation on that. But in regard to Israel, it's very clear and it's documented. Yeah.
I sense a theme. And I have a right to sense that theme because I'm a Christian and I'm not going to cede that right. Sorry.
See what I mean? See what I mean? That's where he took it, guys. That's where he took it.
So the Armenians were murdered by the millions.
And notice, see, he doesn't elaborate on that. He just implies it heavily.
At the end of the First World War, but they weren't all killed. Where did they go?
So, thank you for asking me these questions. I really appreciate it because there's a lot that I want to say about it. So the Armenian genocide was perpetrated by an offshoot of an organization of it's a group that basically rebelled against the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire had already been persecuting Armenians. There was the Adana massacres. I mean, massacres had been happening at the hands of the Ottoman Turks. Now, a group rose up to rebel against the Ottoman Empire, and those individuals were known as the Young Turks. We are not named after those people. Young Turks in American context means something entirely different.
Even if you accept the premise that the Armenians were killed because they were Christians, a sect Tucker would burn for heresy, by the way. Objectively, the most peaceful religion in the world is Jainism.
I don't know much about Jainism, so I have no strong opinion on this. But thank you for the $5 dono. I guess I'll have to check out more about Jainism.
Against societal expectations or the establishment. And that's what we do at our show. So that's why Cenk named it that. I kind of wish he didn't because it gets confused all the time. But nonetheless,
it's kind of funny that there's a Turk and an Armenian hosting the show.
And by the way, we talk about the Armenian genocide on the show all the time. He's Turkish and he grew up in a certain context where you only get one side of the story.
Of course. Yeah, we all have grown up in a certain
Exactly. But to his credit, I mean, through our very difficult conversations at times, through our debates, he eventually realized, oh my God, I was totally brainwashed. The Armenian genocide is totally real. And we talk about it all the time on the show. And that's probably one of my proudest accomplishments because I could have turned my back on him, made him out to just be a terrible person who's unworthy of me even talking to him. But instead, I made a decision to try to convince him, to persuade him. And it took a while, but it worked. And to me, seeing the humanity in someone who has a fundamental disagreement that enrages me, I think that probably out of all the qualities that make me human, I think that's my best quality, my willingness to try to persuade before I write someone off as unworthy.
That's a very good quality.
Yeah. But
the issue is you don't though. You don't listen and you don't try and persuade people. Your arguments are avoidance. You aren't actually arguing in favor of your position. You're avoiding the actual merits of the argument.
Anyway, sorry. So the Young Turks rose up to, and the whole thing about the Young Turks was they didn't like the way Armenians were being persecuted. They wanted to provide rights to Armenians. And you can look this up. It's in the history, right? But there was an offshoot of the Young Turks called the Committee of Unity and Progress. And they're the ones who perpetrated the Armenian genocide. Okay. So that's how it happened. 1.5 million Armenians were slaughtered. There were a lot more Armenians who were forced to march through the desert to Syria. My father was actually born in Damascus.
Your father?
My father, yeah. He was born in Damascus. When he was 2 years old, though, the family wanted to move back to the homeland. My grandfather really cared about that. So they moved to Armenia, but it was difficult because at that point, when the diaspora was moving back, the Armenians who never left, like there were cultural differences. Because think about it. I mean, if you're going to an Arab country, you take on some of their cultural practices and stuff. And then when you go back to Armenia, there's a little bit of a disconnect, you know?
Always.
So
the prodigal son effect.
Yeah. So like there was a lot of Armenians who went to Syria, Lebanon. There's a huge Armenian community in Lebanon, Iran. In fact, there's a huge Armenian community in Iran till this day. Christian Armenians.
How much longer is this? Like 10 minutes.
Who are openly practicing their Christianity and going to church.
In Iran?
In Iran, yeah. Yep. Yes, I have family members. And the way that Iran...
Why aren't they all genocided by Iran, I thought?
Yeah, you would think that would happen, right? But no, there are Armenians in... They might not like the Ayatollah, they might not like the regime, but what they respect is the fact that they're still able to practice their religion. They're still able to go to church. For the most part, they're left alone. And
there's a huge Armenian population in Iran, I think.
Yeah.
Also, just as an FYI, there are like 300,000 to 400,000-ish, like 370,000-ish Christians in Iran. Just as an FYI, like it's not unheard of at all. So again, when you have comments like that, it's just racism. Or some kind of Islamophobia.
That's the Armenian diaspora.
And they were originally refugees from the genocide?
Yes. Yeah. I love Iranian Armenians. They're like among my favorite. They're just, I don't know. I just think that they're actually a lot more open-minded, believe it or not. The diaspora that I come from is far more conservative and a little closed-minded, you know? So, but anyway, I just... Armenians have been through a lot. They really have. And they're all over the world because of the fact that they were forced out of their own country.
They've done so well.
Yeah, they're hardworking people. They're good people, very family oriented. I'm very proud of my heritage, but I'm also very proud to be an American. You know, and that's the other thing about Armenians. They really love this country. They really do. And they feel privileged to be here. You know.
Okay, we're going to skip ahead to the last bit, which is about Epstein.
It's just important to be honest at all times. And I think that, you know, to the extent you can.
Exactly. Yeah. But just going back to the partisan hackery, I was recently on, you know, Abby Phillips's show, and we were talking about the Epstein files and whether or not, you know, they should be released. I'm in favor of releasing them. I think the American people deserve to know.
Obviously.
But there was a conservative guy on the panel who immediately jumped to, well, why didn't the Democrats do it? And it's like, okay, sure. Why didn't I don't care. I don't care about the partisan stuff. Okay. Democrats didn't run on it. I'm not defending them. I would have liked for them to be the ones who ran on it and actually did it, but they didn't. The one who ran on it, well, Trump didn't necessarily run on it, but he did.
His voters want it.
His voters want it.
No, the idea that Donald Trump didn't necessarily run on Epstein is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, he put people in charge in his campaign who talked about it. He put, like, I'm sorry. Like, you attached yourself to all of the people who are constantly talking about this. You utilized a base that was constantly talking about this.
Members of his administration kept, like, using the Epstein files as, like, bait to, like, entice the base. And then also at the same time, while Trump might not have ran on it, he did use the Epstein files to attack Democrats like Bill Clinton, right? So you're drawing attention to that, and you're making the release of the Epstein files a lot more desirable to your base. To then turn around and engage in this like weird, what I believe to be a cover-up, not a good look. Not a good look at all. So when we're having this discussion about what's happening at this very moment, and the Republican guy immediately goes to Democrats bad, it's like, okay, I know the Democrats are bad. Can we let's talk about this moment right now where promises were made, but promises are not kept when it comes to this specific issue.
Or the story itself. I mean, one of the problems with partisanship is it obscures the actual issue that I'd like to know more about. And so the Epstein thing, from my perspective, has been long known, almost 20 years. The guy was a pervert and was involved in apparently a really significant sex ring.
Yeah.
Okay, with some underage girls in it. So the whole thing is gross. We knew that. But what is it? Big picture, what is that? Where did the money come from? No one can answer that question.
Yeah, how did you?
Oh my God, I can't believe Tucker Carlson is the one with the good question.
He make his money? How was he so wealthy?
Nobody knows.
Yeah. Why did Les Wexner give him so much
and
money?
Leon Black, what is that?
What's going on? Yeah, I know.
So what do you think the answer is?
I think he was an intelligence asset. That's my suspicion, period.
Doing what? Blackmailing people?
I think it was a blackmail operation. Why were there cameras in the rooms where girls were being raped? What did he do with that footage? What was the point of that footage?
I have no cameras in any bedroom in my house.
Neither do I.
Normal people don't.
Right. He had relationships with people.
That was a really uncomfortable laugh and a really weird comment to make.
People that were in intelligence. Obviously Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, was a hardcore Zionist and worked for Mossad. This is well documented.
Yeah, I don't think anyone disputes that.
And he introduced Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein. The fact that Jeffrey Epstein was a college dropout, but Bill Barr's father, who worked for the OSS, hired him to be a math teacher at the Dalton School, which is a prestigious school that would only hire prestigious teachers. Jeffrey Epstein wasn't that. He wasn't a prestigious teacher. He dropped out of college. I don't know. There's just a lot of smoke, and it's led to distrust in our institutions. It's led to a lot of suspicions. And I would like to know, and I think this is very important, whether we live in a sovereign country where our politicians are actually representing us, or if we're living in a situation where a foreign country might have blackmail on our politicians or people in positions of power. And as a result, that blackmail is being used to force these politicians to pursue policies that are not beneficial to the American people, but beneficial to a foreign country.
I'm honestly
Do you really
kind
want
of
to know,
glad
or
Anna
will you
popped
admit
in
that
with intelligence asset instead of focusing on his last name. Also, and the white name.
Pluvius, thank you for the gifted sub to Hammock. I very, very much appreciate that. And, oh man, we're so close to being done. We're so close.
It's immoral of you to want to know, and that maybe you just can't handle the truth.
No,
and
I
maybe
wanna
you're
know.
a hater for wanting to know.
I want more than just me knowing. I want every single American to know. That's what I want.
It really is like she's just sitting down for a friendly chat for a demon in a skin suit. Like he's incapable of acting like an actual human being. It really is uncomfortable. Again, this is a huge coup for him because it makes Tucker Carlson look like the reasonable one. It makes him look like a guy who is like, look at me. I listen to all the people. I listen to both sides. And I've come to the very learned conclusion that the only answer is fascism. And I received a light from the Lord last night that told me to run for president. Like, that's what's going to happen here, right? Like, that's what he's setting himself up for. Like, he's been distancing himself from Trump. He is hounding this Epstein thing.
Just another
He's
sociopath
distancing from
in an
Israel.
Edgar suit.
Just another sociopath in an Edgar suit. True, Jaeger Larson. Thank you for the sub. Very much appreciated. And late night with the devil, indeed. Who would be Tucker's VP? I genuinely don't think it matters.
Last question. Do you sincerely think that anybody on either side of the aisle, which doesn't even exist, but whatever, left, right, wherever, could watch what you've said for the last almost 2 hours and come away angry?
I mean, if you're Zionist, probably.
You didn't even say
It
anything against
better not be a
Zionism.
blackmail. That would scare Anna too much.
Damn, socket Tanuki. We got to play this Law and Order sound because we got to report a murder.
You did
just
it.
like,
I
thank you
mean,
for the
I
5
didn't, but
tier
it
1
doesn't matter.
subs.
I mean, look, if the Jeffrey Epstein suspicions are ever confirmed, that looks really, really bad. And you would want that information to never come out. So even talking about it,
Is it time for me to flee the country? I don't think so.
I feel really offends people for obvious reasons. And so I don't know, we'll see. But this is the message that I want people who might feel angry to take away from me. I don't give a fuck. That's it.
Like, damn. It's genuinely unhinged.
I can't improve on that. Hannah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, you gotta have that country twang on Tucker Carlson's network news. I don't know what the N stands for in TCN.
So it turns out that YouTube is suppressing this show. And
God, I wish that were true. God, I wish that were true. YouTube's suppressing my show. It only got 500,000 views in 14 hours. They're suppressing it. I have 4.3 million subscribers. Suppression. So that was awful. And I gotta say, I know I keep saying like no more Young Turks content, but like genuinely, like the depths to which they've gone, I am genuinely surprised. You know? It's as real as that studio is his actual home. Yeah, no kidding.
Jack, you know what the N stands for. It's what he wants to say constantly.
I mean, I think the implication that he wants to say it constantly versus he just does say it constantly. Because, like, I don't think that man would restrain himself. Thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs, though. I very, very much appreciate it, guys. Hot diggity damn. It's genuinely psychotic, you know?
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, being and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.